Welcome to the Truman Show. Wait, this isn't the Truman Show. This is Table Read Tuesdays reading the Truman Show. And you're here with 8 amazing, well, can't include me, 7 amazing actors and readers. So,
one semi-decent one.
Yeah, we'll go around and we'll introduce each other and, well, no, we'll introduce ourselves. I was gone for 2 weeks, so I'm all out of it. Now we got Angel Peterson.
Hello, I'm Angel Peterson, or Angelina, and I'm a few different characters. We're all a few different characters other than Jacob and Arend. So I'm Meryl, I'm a daughter, I'm a waitress, I'm a jogger. No,
everything to everyone.
TV host, old lady, agent, and interviewer.
Sweet. And Arend.
Hello, everybody. I'm Arend Williamson, and I'll be playing the part of Marlone.
Nice. Happy to have you back. And we have Heather Lee Cameron.
Hello, my name is Heather Lee Cameron, and I am playing a whole ton of roles tonight. I'm not going to go through them right now. I'm a little tired, but I'm excited to entertain you all. I love you.
All right, we're excited to be entertained by all the many roles that you will be playing tonight. And we have the fabulous Vicky Dykes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vicky Dykes. I'll be playing 8 different characters tonight, but the one I'll mention is Kristoff.
Ooh, yes. Can't wait to see and hear that. That'll be awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of roles, but many of them are 1-line or 2-line roles. A lot of background actors in this are. And we have Don Lampasone.
I'm Don Lampasone. I'll be reading action description tonight.
Sweet, and we appreciate that very much.
Sure.
And we have Jason Steele.
I'm Jason Steele, and I am playing a lot of those one-liner roles tonight. There are no small roles, just small actors like me. All right.
I'm pretty small. No, yeah. All right. We have, last but not least, definitely not small, Clint Monroe.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I am actually one of those small actors, but if you need a small actor in one of your roles, dude, that's me, dude. Anyways, yeah, I'm reading a bunch of people today. I feel like I am probably one of the most employed people in this production that is the Truman Show. I think I have a lot of different things. I'm an officer. I'm going to be a ferry captain, which has kind of been a dream of mine, so that's cool, you know. Waste worker, which, you know, probably skip that, but you know. And then I'm going to be the father, so I get to come back. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anyways, I'm super excited. Thank you to everybody, all our new subscribers. Thank you so much. That means the world to us. It helps us keep doing this, and it's a lot of fun. If any of you guys want to join the Facebook page, there is a link there. You can submit if you want to be on Table Read Tuesdays, read one of these scripts with us. We'd love to have you. So thank you very much, and I look forward to getting started.
Yeah, Clint is absolutely right. We have, you know, this YouTube channel. We have Facebook page, Facebook group. We have Twitter, Instagram, and we are growing because we get to read amazing scripts like this, The Truman Show, and learn from it and discuss it more in our after show after we read this. And then we can learn more about each of the actors then as well. But we shall get started with Don reading The Truman Show.
Here we go. The Truman Show, written by Andrew M. Niccol. A fogged mirror. Behind the fog, we hear the sounds of a bathroom. After a long moment, a hand wipes the condensation from the glass to reveal the face of Truman Burbank. He wears a sleeveless Hanes undershirt and blue striped pajama bottoms. Behind him, a white glazed tile bathroom wall. It is immediately apparent that we're viewing him through a two-way mirror. Truman, expressionless, studies his reflection in the mirror. For a long moment, he does nothing. He continues to look impassively into the mirror for what becomes an uncomfortably long time. Still, nothing. Finally, he speaks, talking to himself in the mirror as if participating in a TV interview.
Personally, I think the unconquered self-face is the only one worth scaling. Of course, It's a 20,000-foot sheer wall of ice, but then, when did that ever stop me before? Naturally, I intend to make the ascent without the benefit of oxygen, but also without crapons or even an ice pick. Risks? Sure, I'm aware of the risks. Why else do you think I would spend 7 years as an adjuster in a life insurance company?
Truman, you're going to be late.
Truman resignedly opens the door of the cabinet and replaces his shaving tackle. It particularly obscures the lens of the hidden camera. He closes the door and exits. Interior kitchen morning. Meryl, wearing a stylish robe, sits at the kitchen table, sipping coffee. On the table in front of her lies a parcel. Truman enters and glances at the gift.
What's that?
It's a surprise.
Truman unwraps the parcel, an expensive-looking set of exercise sweats.
Well, what do you think?
They're perfect. Thank you.
Truman returns Meryl's kiss.
Try it on.
Truman pulls the top over his head. As he does so, a closer shot focuses on the manufacturer's name.
I thought you could wear them when you do your exercises. Pre-shrunk, and they breathe.
Exterior Truman's house day. Wearing a business suit, briefcase in hand, Truman emerges from his pleasant Victorian-inspired picket-fenced house into an idyllic suburban street of similarly picturesque homes. A neighbor, Spencer, is taking in trash cans, whistling a tune. Spencer breaks off abruptly as Truman approaches his car. His license plate reads, Sea Haven, a nice place to live. And Spencer reads.
Morning, Truman.
Morning, Spencer. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Spencer's dog Pluto bounds happily over to Truman.
Hey, Pluto.
Truman exchanges a polite nod with the Washingtons and African-American family across the street. Mr. Washington is farewelled by his wife and child. Truman is about to climb into his car when he is distracted by a high-pitched whistling sound. Suddenly, a large spherical glass object falls from the sky and lands with a deafening crash on the street, several yards from his car. The startled Truman looks to Spencer, but he has abruptly disappeared inside his house with Pluto. Mrs. Washington and Washington Jr. have also made themselves scarce. Truman investigates. Amidst a sea of shattered glass are the remains of a light mechanism. He looks around him, but the street is deserted. He checks that all the surrounding street lights are accounted for, even though the fallen fixture is far larger. He looks up into the sky, but there is no plane in sight. With some effort, Truman picks up what's left of the crumpled light and loads it into the trunk. A label on the light fixture reads, Sirius, 9 Canis Major. As he drives away, we hear the sound of his car radio.
Another glorious morning in Sea Haven, folks.
Interior, exterior, Truman's car, Sea Haven day. Truman makes his way along the streets of Sea Haven past a series of quaint pastel-shaded cottages. Exterior, Sea Haven Island Township day. A high angle reveals an anonymous mid-sized town built around a small, pretty bay. A cluster of high-rise buildings stand at the water's edge, overlooking a marina. Surrounding the commercial center lie neatly arranged suburbs. Exterior, Oceanside Street day. Pausing at a traffic light along a seaside road, Truman looks through a curious wood arch to the beach and ocean beyond. The sight triggers a memory in his head. Playback. Exterior, long, wide beach day. Unlike a conventional flashback, the scene in his memory appears to be playing on a television screen. 4-year-old Truman runs towards a bluff on the beach. The boy's father, Kirk, late 30s, beer bottle in hand, flirts with 2 teenage girls at the shoreline. Suddenly, the father remembers his son. He looks anxiously around. The sight of the boy at the far end of the beach causes him to drop his bottle in the sand and run to Truman. The boy is near the top of the cliff before his agitated father comes within earshot. his father says, loud.
Truman, stop.
Truman turns from his perch and waves happily down to his father, but the smile quickly vanishes when he registers the anger and distress on his father's face.
Hey, come down now.
His father's unnatural anxiety makes the next bay even more tantalizing. The boy considers defying his father. He puts his hand on the rock above him to stretch up and sneak a peek at the other side. One good stretch would do it.
No,
Why? What's there?
nothing. It's just dangerous. Come down now, please.
Truman is suddenly aware that the hundreds of other beachgoers have stopped their activities to stare at him. Reluctantly, he starts to retrace his steps down the rocks. When he finally jumps to the sand, his father embraces him and leads him away.
I told you to stay close. Don't ever leave my sight again. You know, you've got your limitations. You could have fallen.
Interior Truman's car, downtown Sea Haven, morning present. Through his car window, Truman buys a cup of coffee from a street-side vendor. The vendor says,
How are you, Truman?
Well, vital signs are good.
he pulls into a parking space and sips on a coffee. As he drinks, he becomes aware of a school bell summoning children to class in the adjacent elementary school. The image prompts another childhood memory. Playback interior, Sea Haven Elementary School classroom day. Once again, the flashback appears to be playing on a television screen. 70-year-old Truman sits in the middle row of an elementary school classroom surrounded by 20 or so other 7-year-old. Did I say 70?
Yep.
By 20 or so other well-scrubbed uniformed youngsters. Marlin, the boy next to Truman, is on his feet under the scrutiny of a kindly Norman Rockwell-style school mistress.
And what do you want to do when you grow up, Marlin?
I want to be an entrepreneur like my dad.
Tell the class what an entrepreneur does, Marlin.
He makes a lot of money, ma'am.
Ah, good one does, Marlin. Perhaps I'll be coming to you for a loan one of these days.
The class titters. Marlin sits down and winks to Truman.
What about you, Truman?
Truman rises to his feet, gathering his nerve.
I want to be an explorer, like Magellan.
The schoolmistress smiles benevolently.
I'm afraid no one's going to pay you to do that, Truman. You might have to find something a little more practical. Besides, you're too late. There's really nothing left to explore.
The class roars with laughter as the chest-fallen Truman takes his seat. Exterior parking lot day present. Truman, briefcase in hand, crosses from the parking lot to the town square, surrounded by similarly suited briefcase-toting office workers. Exterior downtown Sea Haven day. Truman walks briskly down the bustling city street. A snarl of taxis, buses, and commuter traffic. A street vendor thrusts a pretzel under Truman's nose. A career woman tries to catch his eye. Truman stops at the kiosk and buys a newspaper, the Island Times.
That all for you, Truman?
That's all. Thanks, Earl.
Other customers also purchase the morning paper. Tucking his copy under his arm, Truman selects a glossy magazine from a rack, quickly flicking through the pages. Glancing in the direction of the newspaper vendor and finding him busy with another customer, Truman deftly tears a portion of the open page and pockets the cutting. He hastily replaces the magazine and departs. As Truman hurries away, the vendor exits the kiosk and picks up the magazine, instantly turning to the torn page. It is a cosmetics advertisement with the model's nose missing. However, the vendor makes no effort to confront Truman, almost as if he were expecting it. Exterior Sea Haven Life and Accident Inc. Day. Truman passes along a row of shops and offices, finally entering a building that proudly proclaims Sea Haven Life and Accident Inc. above the entrance. He has evidently taken his teacher's advice. Interior Insurance Company, Sea Haven Life and Accident Inc. Day. In a cramped, cluttered cubicle, Truman talks on the telephone.
Okay. Let's call it what it is. I'm not going to lie to you. Life insurance is death insurance. You just got to ask yourself 2 questions. 1, in the event of your death, will anyone experience financial loss? And 2, do you care?
A clerk drops a large reference book on Truman's desk. Truman checks the spine. Maritime accidents.
Hold on, will you? This is no good. Lumps.
Lumps.
Yeah.
Oh, he lumps all maritime accidents together. Neat drownings as a separate cat. I don't know what. Yeah, okay. The clerk shrugs, returns the book to his cart, and continues his rounds.
Just think about what I've been saying and let me. Hello?
The person on the other end has hung up. With an apathetic shrug, Truman replaces the receiver. He looks over his shoulder and places another call.
Can you connect me with directory inquiries in Fiji?
A coworker suddenly pokes his head over the neighboring cubicle.
What do you know, Truman?
Can't talk. I'm sorry, ma'am. If he's in a coma, he's probably uninsurable.
The coworker disappears back into his own cubicle.
Hello, operator. Yes, Fiji. Do you have a listing for Lauren Garland? Nothing listed. What about a Sylvia Garland? S for Sylvia. Nothing? Okay. Thanks.
The disconsolate Truman replaces the receiver. Other insurance agents are heading to lunch. Truman puts on his jacket and follows them to the elevators. Into your local Italian deli lunchtime. Behind a deli counter, Tyrone, 50s, is having his hair brushed by a young man. The man fusses one final time, then swiftly departs through a rear door just as Truman enters the store. Tyrone has anticipated Truman's order and has already begun preparing a meatball and mozzarella sandwich on an Italian roll. Truman gazes at the sandwich skillfully under construction, pained by his own predictability.
How's it going, Truman?
Not bad. I just won the state lottery.
Good.
Tyrone, what if I said I didn't want meatball today?
I'd ask for identification.
Truman forces a half smile and exits.
See you tomorrow, Truman.
You can count on it.
Exterior secluded park day. Truman eats lunch alone at a small, out-of-the-way park dominated by a gazebo. From his briefcase, he pulls out an old hard-covered book, To the Ends of the Earth, The Age of Exploration. He reads to himself, his sandwich uneaten beside him. Struck by a particular passage, he reads aloud.
With a mutiny, but half repressed and starvation imminent, he pressed southward till he found the long-hoped-for straits.
Truman is interrupted by a transient in a wheelchair. It is the man's sneakers Truman notices first. Over the top of his book, they are distinctively initialed T.S. Still under the spell of the account of Magellan, he hands the grateful man his sandwich. Interior, a conference room somewhere, day. A group of a dozen men and women of varying ages sit around a circular conference table in a sterile, windowless meeting room. All stare at a single telephone placed in the center of the table, anticipating a call. On cue, the phone rings, and one of the men, after waiting for a second ring, picks up. Man. Who's the man?
Yes, hello. I'm sorry. I've got more than enough life insurance.
He hangs up. After a moment, the phone rings again. Interior Insurance Company day. Truman sits at his desk making a cold call.
This isn't about insurance. This is about the great variable. When will death occur? Could be a week, a month, a year. Could happen today. A sunbather minding his own business gets stabbed in the heart by the tip of a runaway beach umbrella. No way you can guard against that kind of thing. No way at all.
The prospect on the other end, unimpressed with Truman's pitch, hangs up. Truman's supervisor, Lawrence, younger than Truman by several years, sharper suit, sharper haircut, appears around the corner of the cubicle.
Hey, Burbank, got a prospect in Wells Park. I need you to close.
Truman's face falls. He stares out of his third-floor window at the hazy skyline of a nearby island across the bay.
Wells Park on Harbor Island?
You know another one?
I can't do it. I've got an appointment at a dentist.
You'll lose a lot more than your teeth if you don't meet your quota. Look, they're making cutbacks at the end of the month. You need this. Besides, half hour across the bay, sea area, do you some good.
Truman sinks back into his seat and stares out at the distant skyline. The buildings appear very still. Truman picks up a photo of his wife, Earl, deposits it in his briefcase and exits. Exterior Sea Haven day. Truman's car heads out of the city on its way to the ferry. Interior Sea Haven ferry terminal day. Truman exits his car. Mustering all his nerve, he marches into the Sea Haven terminal and buys a token for the ferry. Out of his hearing, two ferry workers observe Truman's agitated behavior.
Hey, I got a feeling about this day.
No way. Okay, I say he makes it through the turnstiles, but he never gets on.
The two men shake on the wager. Unaware of the scrutiny, Truman passes through the turnstiles with a herd of tourists and commuters. He makes his way across the terminal, but abruptly pulls up at the gangway. As the other passengers impatiently brush past him onto the boat, Truman remains frozen to the spot, mesmerized by the scummy water rising and falling beneath the dock. It triggers a memory in his head. Playback exterior Sea Haven Harbor day. As always, the flashback appears to play on a television screen. 7-year-old Truman, wearing a life jacket, sits alongside his father, Kirk, in a small sailing dinghy, sailing into a stiff breeze. A second sailboat circles them. We observe the father and son from an angle atop the mast of the neighboring vessel.
Let's go further, Daddy. Let's go further.
Kirk says,
Oh, it's getting rough, Truman.
Please.
Kirk shakes his head ruefully and indulges his son by heading towards the gathering storm clouds on the horizon. Interior Sea Haven ferry terminal day present. Truman turns and begins to fight his way back against the tide of passengers boarding the ferry. Emerging back onto the street, gasping for air, the ferry workers settle their wager. Exterior roadway adjacent to the ferry terminal day. Truman stands at a payphone. By stretching the payphone's receiver cord as far as it will go, he is just able to reach his arm and leg into the driver's door of his car. He punctuates his conversation with blasts on the car horn while revving the car's engine with his outstretched foot. The few passing motorists and pedestrians regard Truman curiously.
I'll tell you, this traffic's insane. I'll never make it to the ferry in time. What can I do? What? Lawrence, I can't hear you.
Truman hangs up the phone. Interior Truman's car day. On his way home, a large detour sign forces him onto a secondary road. Interior Truman's car, Parkland's Sea Haven day. Truman drives along a winding road through Parkland. He pulls up at a red light, no other traffic around. His attention is caught by an attractive young woman sitting on a park bench not far from the intersection. She is being taunted by two young thugs. She attempts to ignore the youths by concentrating on the book on her lap.
Want to read to me?
His companion smirks.
You want to read to me?
The boy reaches over and snatches the novel from her grasp.
My friend asked you a question.
The woman picks up her bag in a reflex and holds it to her. She looks about for assistance, briefly catching Truman's eye. The youths also look in Truman's direction, staring him down.
Please.
The boy returns the book to the woman, but before doing so, rips out the last page from the novel and stuffs it in his shirt pocket.
Now you're going to have to ask me how it ends.
One of the youths grabs the woman, dragging her toward the surrounding woods.
We're gonna tell you how it ends, baby.
Help! Oh, please, help!
As they drag her toward the undergrowth, Truman, horrified, half gets out of the car, fearful of his own safety as much as the woman's. Truman shouts to the youths, his voice cracking with fear.
Hey, let her go.
A huge truck suddenly appears behind Truman's car, its horn blasting, the driver hurling abuse. Truman hesitates as the youths drag the woman into the bushes, conflicted over whether or not to help. The truck driver keeps his head on the horn. Truman retreats back into his car and reluctantly drives on. Exterior Parkland Woods day. Truman's car safely out of sight. The youths promptly release the young woman. She calmly brushes herself off, no longer afraid. The young men, no longer angry, retrieve her bag.
Thanks.
The threesome walks back towards the roadway as if lifelong friends.
He did nothing.
Ah, well, physical violence paralyzes them. Always has.
Exterior Truman's house, dusk. Beyond the pretty picket fence at the end of the property flows a busy highway. Truman is mowing the lawn. From his expression, it would seem that he's still reflecting on his inaction in the park. He switches off the mower and leans on the handle. He is distracted by the arrival of his wife, Earl, exiting the house. She wears a nurse's uniform and carries a curious metal device attached to a cardboard backing. She kisses Truman affectionately on the cheek.
Hi, honey. Look at this. It's a chef's mate. Dicer, slicer, and peeler in one. Never needs sharpening. Dishwasher safe.
Gee, that's great.
Looking over Truman's shoulder, Merrill notices a small uncut patch of grass missed by Truman in one of his passes.
You missed a section.
Merrill enters the house. Truman restarts the lawnmower and obediently pushes it towards the offending patch of lawn. As the mower brushes up against the unconforming blades of grass, Truman pulls back abruptly. He checks the kitchen window for Merrill and wheels the mower away, leaving the patch uncut. Interior Truman's house, living room, night. Merle is removing the cap of her nurse's uniform when Truman enters.
How'd it go today?
A man tripped and fell on a chainsaw. We got 3 of his fingers back on.
Truman retrieves a bucket of golf balls and a golf club from behind the door.
I was hoping we could have a special evening.
I won't be late.
Did something happen today?
Truman turns to her too sharply, his guilt showing.
What could happen?
Truman exits. Exterior unfinished bridge night. A half-constructed bridge, paved but unmarked, ends abruptly in midair, reinforcing steel protruding from the concrete. Truman stands at the end of the unfinished bridge with Marlin, 30s, a well-filled physique. Marlin drinks beer from a can while Truman addresses a teed-up golf ball with a number 3 wood. The headlights of their 2 parked cars light the cement fairway. Their target is a sign at the far end of the bridge proclaiming the Sea Haven Causeway, linking Sea Haven Island with the rest of the world. Your tax dollars at work. An upturned plastic cone at the foot of the sign is the hole. Truman winds up and swings, making a healthy contact with the ball. The ball arches away into the night sky. From a new angle, we see the ball take a huge hop on the outside lane of the abandoned freeway and continue down the asphalt beyond the sign. Marlin tosses Truman another off-white ball from a bucket of badly scarred golf balls. Truman sets the ball up on the makeshift tee area and launches himself into his second shot. With a slight fade, the second ball carries even further than the first.
Whose nuts were those?
Truman hands Marlin their sole golf club without comment. Marlin tees up a ball of his own. He uses orange golf balls.
I'm thinking of getting out, Marlin.
Yeah? Out of where?
Out of my job, out of Sea Haven, off this island, out.
Marlin takes a practice swing.
Out of your job? What the hell's wrong with your job? You got a great job. You got a desk job. I'd kill for a desk job.
Marlin addresses the ball and swings, a sweeping hook shot that bounces off the freeway and into the water hazard.
Son of a bitch. Try stocking vending machines for a living. My biggest decision of the day is whether the almond joys look better next to the Snickers or the baby Ruths.
Truman selects another M ball from the bucket and tosses it to Marlin.
Haven't you ever gotten itchy feet?
Overcompensating with his second shot, Marlin slices the ball in the other direction. A lucky bounce keeps it on the green. The ball rolls in the direction of the upturned cone.
Where is there to go?
Truman gulps his beer as he prepares his answer.
Fiji.
Marlin considers Truman's suggestion as he sips his beer.
Fiji? Where the hell is Fiji? Is that near Florida? You can't drive there, can you?
Truman picks up a golf ball to demonstrate. He points to a dimple on his makeshift globe.
You see here, this is us. All the way around here, Fiji. Before you can't get any further away before you start coming back. You know, there are still islands in Fiji where no human has ever set foot.
So when are you leaving?
It's not that simple. Takes money, planning. You can't just up and go. I'm going to do it. Don't worry about that. I just got to move slow, pick my moment. You know, bonus time's around the corner. As soon as I finish the
nursery
spare room, I can start thinking about selling up, and I'll be gone, up and away on that big steel bird. I'm going. Don't you worry about that.
Marlin nods, even though the concept of taking flight is beyond his imagination.
I never knew anybody who wanted to leave Sea Haven.
An awkward moment. Truman, once again, not so sure of himself. Enter a dimly lit room somewhere. Night. A man looks up sharply. He stares into camera. Christoph, late 50s, of vitality in his eyes that bellies his years. A news anchor style ear pierce disappears down the neck of his suit. Exterior bridge night. Truman and Marlin wander along the empty bridge, retrieving the golf balls. Marlin goes to say something to the disconsolate Truman, but is momentarily distracted. He raises his hand to his ear. Truman places another of the balls in the bucket.
Truman, you know, I did think about moving away one time.
Yeah? What happened?
I figured, what's the point? I knew I'd just be taking my problems with me. Once the kids came along, it made me look at Sea Haven with new eyes. I realized what the hell could be better than this. I'm telling you, what you really need is someone to carry on the Burbank name.
You think so?
Trust me.
Marlin picks up the last ball at the mouth of the upturned cone. The ball is white.
You win.
They approach Truman's car. Truman opens the trunk to deposit their humble golfing equipment. Inside are the remains of the fallen light fixture.
You really think it could have dropped off an airliner?
Sure, it hollow, Jen. Shame it didn't hit you. You could have sued. You coming for a drink?
I can't tonight.
Interior lighthouse night. From the POV of the lighthouse's lantern room, we observe Truman sitting on the beach staring out to sea. Closer on Truman. He has a portable tape recorder slung over his shoulder and points a corded microphone at the surf. We watch Truman's impassive face as he makes the recording of the lapping waves. The lamp from the lighthouse occasionally falls upon Truman. Playback exterior ocean day. As always, the flashback appears to play on a television screen. The sky is black with storm clouds. Gale force winds lash rain into the faces of 7-year-old Truman and his father, Kirk. As Kirk stands up to get his hearings, a freak gust of wind catches the sail. The boom whips across the stern and strikes Kirk flush in the head, knocking him overboard. Truman, wearing the sole life jacket, desperately reaches for his father. He momentarily has hold of his father's hand when Kirk is abruptly dragged beneath the surface.
Daddy, Daddy!
He cries. His cries go unanswered. 7-year-old Truman finds himself alone. The storm abruptly passed. The wind suddenly dropped. The water stilled. The frightened Truman examines the ring he holds in his open hand, his father's ring, wrenched from his finger in Truman's fight to keep him afloat. Exterior beach night present. A close-up of Truman from Kirk's ring that Truman now wears. Then, from the lighthouse POV, we observe Truman get to his feet and walk towards the dark water. He stands at the water's edge.
I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry.
As if in reply, a tongue of lightning flashes across the distant skyline, followed by a growl of thunder. Interior, a living room somewhere, night. 2 old women, 70s, sit beside each other on a sofa, looking directly into camera as they talk.
It left him with more than his obvious fear of the water.
He was never the same curious little boy again.
Half the women I know named their children after him.
Exterior beach parking lot night. Truman is forced to leg it through a sudden rain shower to his car. From Truman's point of view, the shower appears quite normal. However, viewed from a distance, we see that the shower is extremely localized, encircling only him, as if a small cloud is directly above his head, tracking his progress. As Truman crosses the parking lot, the shower crosses with him. Sensing something amiss, Truman dances back and forth across the street, intrigued by the curious phenomenon. He hums a few bars of Singing in the Rain. The rain becomes heavier, covering a wider area. Truman runs the remaining distance to his car. Interior, Truman's house nursery night. The drenched Truman enters to find Merle in the unfinished nursery, comparing wallpaper samples. Merle wears a robe, a glimpse of black negligee beneath.
Where have you been?
I've been thinking.
Oh, God.
I figured we could scrape together 8,000.
Every time you and Marlon.
We could bum around the world for a year on that.
And then what, Truman? We'd be back to where we were 5 years ago. You're talking like a teenager.
Maybe I feel like a teenager.
We're mortgaged to the eyeballs, Truman. There's car payments. Are we just going to walk away from our financial obligations?
Truman, still dripping on the floor, holds Merle by the arms. He talks excitedly to her the way we imagine he did when they were courting.
It'd be an adventure.
I thought we were going to try for a baby. Isn't that enough of an adventure?
That can wait. I want to get away. See some of the world. Explore.
Merle gives a derisive laugh.
You want to be an explorer. Well, you don't even have a passport, Truman. I bet you don't even know how to get one.
The words sting. Truman turns away. Seeing the pain she's caused, she changes tack.
This'll pass. Everybody thinks like this now and then. Come to bed.
I think I'm going to stay up for a while.
Interior, an office building somewhere, reception night. In the reception area of an office building, 2 uniformed guards drink coffee.
How can they have a child?
Guard
It's
2
not going to be his, you idiot.
Why not?
You think she'd go through with it?
Sure she would.
I guess I always thought they'd adopt.
Exterior, Truman Street dawn. There is something peculiar about the way the sun rises over Sea Haven Island. The light appears in an arc that's slightly too perfect and well-defined. Interior, Truman's bedroom, morning. In front of his bedroom window, Truman, wearing his new sweats, performs an exercise routine of his own invention. He counts off the exercises to himself, cheating as he does so. He counts 5 leg lifts for every 2 he completes.
5, then 15. 2 more makes 20.
Interior of bedroom somewhere, morning. A middle-aged married couple in identical matching sweats repeat the same eccentric exercises in perfect sync, as if they were in a class led by Truman. Exterior car day. Truman climbs into the car and switches on the radio. He drives down the street.
Another glorious morning in Sea Haven, folks. Don't forget to buckle up.
Truman mutters to himself as is his custom. Exterior downtown Sea Haven day. Truman emerges from the parking lot and, as usual, stops at the newspaper stand. He picks up a glossy magazine and flips through the cosmetic ads, surreptitiously tearing a pair of eyes from one of the pages. He returns the magazine into the rack. As usual, the newspaper vendor fails to intervene. Truman begins his daily pilgrimage to work through the rush hour pedestrian traffic. As he enters the street leading to his office, he glimpses a homeless man reflected in the window of a parked car. Truman, spellbound by the man, suddenly wheels around to face him. The homeless man, late 50s, more well-groomed and well-fed than the average vagrant, has a serene smile on his face. The homeless man places his hand ever so gently on Truman's cheek. Truman makes no effort to withdraw. He is transfixed by the man's eyes. He appears to recognize him.
Dad?
Suddenly, an elegant woman shopper walking a small wiener dog and a business executive carrying a briefcase walking in opposite directions along the sidewalk grab the homeless man, one under each arm. Lifting the homeless man off the ground, they start to whisk the bewildered derelict down the street.
Stop! Stop!
Truman begins to give chase. However, the shopper and the businessman are surprisingly fleet-footed. Even more surprising as Truman embarks on the pursuit is the behavior of the pedestrians and commuters. They appear to part for the fleeing trio, then close ranks in front of him. Is it accidental, or are the pedestrians working together, running interference?
Out of the way! Out of the way!
They are escaping. Truman finally breaks through the pack, bowling over several of the pedestrians in the process. Just as he gets within reach of the shopper and the businessman, a bus suddenly screeches to a halt beside the abductors. Doors already open. The woman shopper and the executive bundle the homeless man onto the bus. Truman lurches after them, but he is met by the bus doors, closing sharply in his face.
Hey, stop! Stop the bus!
Truman thumps against the doors, but the bus driver ignores his cries and the bus roars away. The other passengers in the bus, apparently oblivious to the incident, keeps staring straight ahead. Truman continues to give chase when a taxi appears out of nowhere and cuts in front of him, blocking his path. When he recovers, the bus has disappeared. The mysterious crowd of pedestrians has also dissolved as if it never existed. Retracing his steps, head reeling, wondering if they could have imagined the whole incident, Truman discovers that the woman shopper has left her wiener dog behind. The dog wanders aimlessly on the pavement, its leash trailing behind it. Interior mother's house day. Truman paces impatiently in the living room of his mother's cramped, fuzzy, doily little house full of Burbank family memorabilia. A cluster of framed photographs is dominated by one of his father, trimmed with a black ribbon. A toilet flushes, and Truman's mother finally emerges from the next room. She presents something of a contradiction. Although she walks with the aid of a walker, she is actually a well-preserved 60. She wears a glamorous nightgown and a full head of bleached blonde hair.
How are you, Mother?
Well, I made it through another night.
How's your hip?
Oh, just so.
Truman supports Mother.
You know, surprises aren't good for me. You should really call before you come over, dear.
I've got something to tell you. You better sit down.
Truman helps her into an overstuffed armchair.
You look very pale, Truman. Are you taking your vitamin Ds?
I spent half my life out in the sun, Mother. Why would I need vitamin D?
I feel certain my condition runs in the family. Oh, can't this wait, dear?
He kneels beside her.
No, I'm afraid it can't.
Truman takes a deep breath as he prepares to give her the news.
I know this is going to sound insane, Mother, but I saw Dad today on Lancaster Circle. He's alive.
Mother smiles condescendingly.
It doesn't sound insane, Truman. I swear I see him 10 times a week in 100 faces. I almost hugged a perfect stranger in the salon last Thursday.
It was Dad, I swear, just like a homeless man. And you know what else was really strange? A businessman and a woman with a little dog appeared out of nowhere and forced him onto a bus.
About time they started cleaning up the trash downtown. We don't want to end up like the rest of the country.
They never found Dad's body. Maybe,
Darling,
somehow.
darling,
I'm telling you, if it wasn't him, it was his twin. Did Dad have a brother?
you know he was an only child, like you. I know how bad you feel about what happened sailing into that storm. But I don't blame you, Truman. Never have.
Mother kisses Truman on the cheek.
I was thinking about going lighter. What do you think?
Truman regards his mother. Her hair is already impossibly blonde. Interior Truman's basement, Dusk. The basement is cluttered with junk. Ships and bottles, a train track without trains, an oxygen mask, a stringless guitar, many abandoned projects. The basement is dimly lit by a single naked bulb. Truman looks over his shoulder before opening the large walk-in cupboard. On the cupboard door is a wall map of the Pacific Ocean. The Fiji Islands are carefully circled. Amongst the many tools and household implements inside, the cupboard is a trunk under a dusty canvas sheet. He pulls the trunk into the room, unfastens the lock, and opens the lid. Inside, mementos from his youth, a how to sail book, a stack of great explorers magazines, and beneath it all, a garment in a dry cleaning bag. Truman carefully lifts up the plastic to reveal a young woman's cardigan sweater. He puts the cardigan to his nose and takes in its scent. Footsteps. Truman hastily drops the cardigan in the trunk and shuts the lid. Meryl's leg appears on the stairs.
What are you doing down there?
I'm fixing the mower. I saw my father today.
I know.
How do you know?
Your mother called. You shouldn't upset her like that.
Meryl's response takes the wind out of Truman's sails.
What did you want?
I made macaroni.
I'm not hungry.
Meryl nods, not at all convinced.
We really ought to toss that mower out. Get one of those new elk rotaries.
Truman does not reply. After an uncomfortable pause, he turns back up the stairs. Truman waits a moment before reopening the trunk. He removes the cardigan and holds it up, reminiscing. Interior, a kitchen somewhere, night. A mother, daughter about 12, and a baby in a high chair stare into camera.
What's he doing?
They removed all physical traits of her, but they couldn't erase the memory.
The memory of who?
Playback montage, exterior college campus, steps, day. Once again, the images appear to be playing on a television screen. On the steps of a typical college campus, Truman, 21, in a college band uniform, participates in a football pep rally. Marlon, 21, a member of the football team, and Meryl, 21, a cheerleader, are nearby. Truman observes an ethereal-looking young woman walk by, Lauren. Playback interior dance all night. At a college dance, Truman dances with Meryl. Lauren dances with a partner of her own. However, Truman only has eyes for Lauren. Suddenly, she is escorted from the dance floor. Playback exterior college campus street day. Truman almost trips off the curb as he waves to Lauren, riding towards him on a bicycle. However, she rides right by with her nose in the air, not even acknowledging his presence. Truman puzzled by her change of heart. The montage ends at the scene in a college library. Playback interior college library night. In the school library, Truman, 21, sits with Marlon, 21, and wife-to-be Meryl, 21, doing a final cram for a test. The students begin to pack up their books. Meryl gives Truman a peck on the cheek.
Come on, Truman. Haven't you studied enough?
I still want to look over a couple of things.
Take the C average. That's what I do.
Truman looks up from his books. The library is almost deserted. He spies a girl's hand around the table divider. Truman musters the nerve to poke his head over the divider. He finds Lauren on the other side, buried in a book.
Konnichiwa.
Lauren looks blank.
Japanese text. Oh, wait. You take Japanese.
Oh, yes,
Lauren, right?
that's right. Lauren,
I'm Truman. Truman Burbank.
I'm not allowed to talk to you.
Truman is not surprised.
It's okay. I probably wouldn't talk to me either.
I'm sorry. It's not up to me.
You have a boyfriend? Of course you do.
Lauren looks about her, unsure.
No,
No, really? Good. I mean, I thought possibly a pizza? How about Friday?
no.
Saturday?
Lauren looks around the almost deserted library.
Actually, I'm free Sunday.
Now,
Right now? We've got finals tomorrow.
if we don't go now, it won't happen.
Truman hesitates.
Well, what do you want to do?
I think I've studied enough.
Playback exterior various locations near Sea Haven College night. Lauren, taking Truman by the hand, runs down various streets and paths through the campus. She occasionally pauses and looks about her, often changing direction or looking up at streetlights and the towers of houses along their route, as if trying to elude an unseen pursuer. The excited and apprehensive Truman runs with her, although he is unsure exactly who or what they are running from. The further they get from the campus, the higher, wider, and less effective the coverage of the scene. Some camera angles are even partially obscured. Playback exterior highway, western end of town, night. Truman and Lauren eventually cross an empty highway on the edge of town. They run over the dunes onto a strangely deserted beach and down to the water's edge under a hyper-real full moon. Lauren throws off her cardigan and hitches up her skirt, wading out into the inviting water without another thought. Truman stares down, transfixed by the shimmering water.
It's beautiful. What are you waiting for?
I can't.
Lauren suddenly stops splashing.
That's right. Oh, God, I'm sorry.
She wades out of the water.
Why, Lauren? You've got nothing to be sorry about.
Lauren, dripping wet, stands beside Truman at the shoreline. She meets his gaze.
My name's not Lauren. It's Sylvia.
Truman looks into her eyes and believes her. Truman wipes the water from her face, then leans forward and gently kisses her lips. She kisses him back. Interior, a bar somewhere, night. In a quiet bar room, a waitress explains her viewpoint to a barman. A patron on a bar stool eavesdrops.
Don't you get it? She was willing to lose everything. If it meant he could find himself. Never mind, you wouldn't understand.
Playback exterior beach night. As we return to Truman's reminiscence, Truman and Sylvia, as she is now called throughout the remainder of the movie, sit on the sand at the water's edge with great delicacy. Truman traces the outline of her nose with his finger, at the same time inhaling her scent. Sylvia looks nervously around her. Truman goes to say something, but Sylvia hushes him.
They're coming any minute.
Ooh,
They're going to stop me talking to you.
there's no one here.
Just listen. You remember when you were a little boy, you stood up in class and said you wanted to be an explorer like Magellan.
How do you know that?
And your teacher said You're too late, Truman. There's nothing left to explore.
Were you there? How do you know?
It doesn't matter. Everybody knows about it. They know everything you do. The point is, you got scared.
I don't understand.
You must listen. Everybody's pretending, Truman.
She points to the sky and scoops up the sea at their feet.
You think this is real? It's all for you. A show. The eyes are everywhere. They're watching you right now.
Suddenly, a car's headlights come bouncing over the dunes. The car roars across the beach towards the couple.
I told you, Truman.
The car skids to a stop, and a large man, 40-ish, with a shock of red hair, jumps from the car. The man yanks the frightened Sylvia to her feet, causing her cardigan to fall to the ground. The man says, there's a man. He's mad. Laura, it's
Clint,
Sylvia.
Jason, Arend, anyone.
Lauren, sweetheart, not again. Get in the car.
Truman jumps in.
Hey, who the hell are you?
I'm her father.
We weren't doing anything.
He's not my father. He's just saying that. Does he look anything like me?
Come on, sweetheart.
The man gently but firmly pushes Sylvia towards his car. Sylvia resists. Truman crosses to them.
I'll take care of her.
The man takes Truman aside and whispers in his ear.
Schizophrenia. She has episodes.
Doubts start crowding into Truman's head.
Don't listen to him, Truman. I'm telling you the truth.
Don't bother. We're moving to Fiji, the Fiji Islands. This place has done nothing for her head.
Enter a dimly lit room somewhere, night present. Christoph stares intently into camera. Beside him is his assistant, Chloe, an androgynous-looking young woman. She, too, stares into camera.
At least he didn't say New York City.
Playback exterior beach night. Truman stares after the car as it roars away. He turns back toward the ocean where his attention is caught by an object lying on the sand. Sylvia's cardigan. Interior Truman's basement night present. Truman carefully places the cardigan back into the trunk. Interior a kitchen somewhere night. Mother, daughter, and baby stare into camera.
But why didn't he just follow her to Fiji?
Because his mother got sick. Very sick. He couldn't leave her. He's a kind boy. Maybe too kind.
Can't believe he married Meryl on the rebound.
Interior basement night. Truman turns his attention to the framed photograph of Meryl that he carries everywhere. Hidden behind her photo is a composite picture of Sylvia, which Truman has constructed by pasting together individual facial features, nose, mouth, ears, chin, hair, gathered, presumably, from women's magazines. He attempts to put the jigsaw puzzle together, although he has particular difficulty finding a pair of eyes that match. From his pocket, he takes a recent collection of eyes, which, like a detective working on an identikit picture, he tries to match. They are still not quite right. Interior, an apartment somewhere, night. The eyes of a young woman, blue-green eyes. She turns slightly, looking directly into camera. We pull back to reveal her face, Sylvia. Exterior, Truman Street, early morning. Dawn breaks over Truman Street. On cue, the sound of birds. Exterior, street outside Truman's house, morning. Truman leaves the house, lost in thought. Spencer is taking out the trash.
Hey, how's it going there, Truman?
Truman hardly acknowledges Spencer. Pluto the dog fails to receive his usual pat. The wave from the Washingtons across the street is also not returned. Interior, exterior, car, street outside Truman's house. Day. Truman motors down the street, switching on the car radio as usual.
Don't forget to buckle up there in Radioland. It's another glorious morning in Sea Haven, folks.
The announcer's voice slows down, now revealing itself to be a tape that is worn out. Truman, perplexed, looks at the radio and pushes buttons in an attempt to find another station. He finds one.
West on Stewart. He's making a right on Holden.
Truman glances up at the street signs along his route and finds that they correspond exactly with the streets quoted on the radio. Distracted, he almost bowls over an old lady on a crosswalk.
We almost hit Maryland. He's on the move again, passing the library.
Truman readjusts the radio as it starts to fade out. Suddenly, there is a piercing blast of feedback. He looks up, and as far as the eye can see, every pedestrian, motorist, and shopkeeper along the street suddenly winces in pain and holds their right ear at exactly the same moment.
Something's wrong. Change frequencies.
Truman tries to pick up the channel once again, but without success. Exterior parking lot morning. Truman sits in his car, drinking his coffee, taking in the recent incident. From inside the adjacent school, he hears the familiar, excited squeals and chatter of school children. Truman suddenly throws aside his coffee and sprints across the parking lot and into the school. Interior Sea Haven Elementary School morning. Truman slams through the front doors into the reception area. It is deserted. No one stationed at the administration desk. The corridor's empty. He runs down a vacant corridor, finally standing outside a classroom. The children's voices can still be heard from inside. Truman bursts through the door. The room is empty except for a large reel-to-reel tape recorder on the teacher's desk playing a continuous tape of children's voices. The recorder is attached to speakers on tall stands facing the ventilation ducts. Truman stares at the machine in disbelief. Exterior street downtown day. Truman, still lost in thought, exits the school. He stops at the newsstand and picks up a magazine to resume his ritual search. But his heart is not in it. He replaces the magazine without taking a cutting, much to the surprise of the news vendor. Truman starts his trek to work, pausing to stare at his reflection in the mirrored building, hoping that the homeless man will appear once again at his side. No one joins him. Exterior downtown street day. Entering his own building with fellow office workers, Truman remains in the revolving door and reemerges on the street. Exterior city streets day. Truman wanders aimlessly through a city park, observing. We sense truly observing for the first time. A young woman walks a pair of Afghan hounds. An old man answering the incessant questions of his grandchild. Nothing appears amiss. Truman takes a seat at a small outdoor cafe. He fidgets with his father's ring on his finger that contains one large stone, still looking for a false move. A delivery man unloads boxes from the back of his truck and carries them into a store. Further down the street, construction workers take their time tending to an electrical repair in an exposed manhole. A postal worker does his rounds. An old woman struggles with two heavy shopping bags. Everybody appears natural, places to go. Interior, a dimly lit room somewhere day. Christoph and Chloe stare into camera. Christoph leans forward and speaks.
Everybody stay focused. Remember who you are.
Exterior cafe day. Truman turns his attention to a group of Cuban-looking men at the only other occupied table at the cafe. We see extreme close-ups as Truman scans the men's faces for any signs of phoniness. They are talking loudly, making suggestive comments to the waitress. Their behavior passes the test. All seems genuine. Then Truman notices two joggers out for a morning run, making their way down the street towards him. Truman happens to glance at the sneakers on one of the joggers. He suddenly springs to his feet. Truman blocks the joggers.
It's you, isn't it?
The joggers attempt to sidestep Truman.
Excuse me?
Remember, 2 days ago I gave you my meatball sandwich in the park? You were in a wheelchair. Same sneakers.
The jogger looks down at his distinctive sneakers bearing the initials TS and visibly blanches.
Get the hell out of here.
The second jogger roughly shoves Truman aside. Truman calls out after the two men.
It's a miracle.
Truman picks himself up, dusting dirt from his suit. He retrieves his briefcase and continues down the street with renewed purpose. Exterior downtown street day. Wandering down the bustling street, Truman suddenly bolts into a building at random. Interior office building day. an imposing office building clad in the kind of reflective glass that shields its occupants from the world, a building Truman passes every day. A steady stream of employees and visitors enter and exit the building's high-ceilinged lobby past an intimidating security desk manned by 2 uniformed guards. Beyond security are banks of elevators, ferrying executives, clerical staff, and delivery personnel to and from their floors of business. Truman abruptly enters reception and strides confidently past the security desk, trying to look as if he belongs.
Hey, can I help you?
I have an appointment at Gable Enterprises.
They went bust.
The second security guard is rising from his seat to block Truman's path to the elevators, but Truman reads his mind and makes a dash for it into one of the elevators. A young woman in the elevator looks in horror at Truman, the cause of her concern all too apparent. Looking beyond the woman, Truman discovers that there is no back to the elevator car. The people Truman has just witnessed entering other elevators are milling around a refreshment table, primping or sitting on folding chairs. Gradually, they all turn to gape at Truman, who in turn stares back, appalled. Truman's view is abruptly blocked as a rear panel is hastily attached to the elevator. A security guard pulls Truman from the car.
What's going on?
Nothing.
Truman observes the upward progress of the elevator via the light display above the doorway. Before he has time to make sense of it, the guards drag him away.
You've got to leave.
The guards frog march Truman out of the facade towards an emergency exit.
Just tell me what's going on.
We're remodeling.
No, you're not. What were those people doing in there?
It's none of your business. None of yours either.
You don't tell me what's really going on, I'll report you.
Truman continues to struggle as the guards usher him to the street.
But for what? You're the one trespassing.
Exterior downtown street day, Truman continues to struggle as the guards unceremoniously dump him on the pavement. He picks himself up, head reeling, and starts to run along the street. He suddenly enters another building at random, an office block with a bank on the ground floor. Truman rushes to the elevators. The lights above the doors show all the elevator on upper floors. Frantic, pressing the elevator button, gets no response. A receptionist rises from her desk. Truman heads for the stairs, but is intercepted by a bank official bearing his way.
I want to...
The bank official, the receptionist, and the bank teller back Truman toward the door.
Open an account?
Yes. Why not?
Savings or checking?
Let's go up to my office.
Truman hurriedly exits the bank. Exterior street day, back on the street, Truman feels the eyes of the pedestrians. Is he simply drawing attention to himself by his behavior? Truman wheels around, trying to make eye contact with passerbys. They shy away. He continues to run down the street. Finally, Truman finds himself standing in front of the window of an electronics store, staring at his own face on a TV set. It is taking a feed from a camcorder aimed out the store window. Interior, a bathroom somewhere day. A man stares into camera from a bath of stale water, a layer of soap scum on the top.
Hey, don't look at me, pal.
Exterior street electronics store day. Truman shudders at his video reflection. Further down the street, he notices Marlon's van parked outside a supermarket. Interior supermarket day. The door of a vending machine is open. Marlon, half inside the machine, loads a stack of Baby Ruth candy bars into one of the disappearing slots. The paranoid Truman appears at his shoulder.
Marlon.
Truman, what the hell are you doing here?
Truman looks nervously around him. Even the store owner's friendly nod from behind the counter is cause for suspicion in Truman's mind.
I've got to talk to you.
Sorry, I'm way behind.
I'm onto something. Marlon, something big.
Are you okay? You look like shit.
I think I'm mixed up in something.
Mixed up? Mixed up in what?
There's no point in trying to explain it, but a lot of strange things have been happening. Elevators that don't go anywhere, people talking about me on the radio? You know what I mean?
No, Truman. If this is another one of your fantasies.
I think it's got something to do with my dad.
Your dad?
I think he's alive. I'll tell you about it later. I'm definitely being followed.
Who?
It's hard to tell. They look just like regular people.
How about them?
Could be. Beard looks phony. It's when I'm unpredictable. They can't stand that. That's why we've got to get out of here. Can you come with me?
I told you I can't.
I've got to show you something.
Truman fixes Marlin with a look of deadly seriousness.
Christ, Truman, you're gonna get both our asses fired.
Exterior Sea Haven Elementary School day. Truman hurries Marlin up the school steps. The sound of children's voices continues to drift out from inside the building. Truman and Marlin storm into the school reception area, still empty. Interior school corridor day. Truman and Marlin stand outside the classroom, the source of the school children's voices. Truman throws his friend an "I told you so" look and swings open the door with a flourish. Interior classroom day. The once empty classroom is now full of school children in an art class. A hush falls over the students and all eyes turn to Truman and Marlin.
Would you care to join us?
Exterior clifftop dusk. Head over hand, Truman climbs the cliff he once scaled as a 7-year-old. Finally, he sits on the clifftop, staring out at the view his father had been so desperate for him not to see 26 years earlier. However, the deserted bay beyond is identical to its neighbor. Marlin, laboring, crests the rise and joins his friend on the clifftop.
What are we doing here, Truman?
This is where it all started.
What exactly?
Things. Things that doesn't fit. Maybe I'm being set up for something. You ever feel like that, Marlin? Like your whole life has been building to something?
No.
When you were hauling chickens for Kaiser Poultry, what was the furthest you've ever went off the island?
I went all over, but I never found a place like this. Look at that sunset, Truman. It's perfect.
Yeah.
That's the big guy. Quite a paintbrush he's got.
Just between you and me, Marlin, I'm going away for a while.
Really?
Interior living room, Truman's house night. Truman sits cramped on a sofa, pulling wider. We discover the cause of his discomfort. He is sandwiched between Merle and on one side and his mother on the other. Mother, the family historian, a stack of photograph albums at her feet, turns the pages of the album on Truman's lap.
We ought to be getting you back, Mother.
Hold on a minute, dear. Here's us at Mount Rushmore. You remember, Truman, when Dad was still with us, that was quite a drive. You slept all the way there.
It looks so small.
Things always do when you look back.
Mother skips several pages in the album, finally stopping at a spread of wedding photos.
Look, Truman, there's my cousin Earl putting a bouquet down his pants. It was the happiest day of our lives.
Didn't she look beautiful, Truman? She still does.
Mother turns to a blank page in the album.
And there's plenty of room for baby photos. I'd like to hold a grandchild in my arms before I go.
Merle rises from the sofa and helps Mother to her walker.
I'll take you home, Angela. Why don't you leave those with us for a while?
Good night, Mother.
See you in a minute, sweetheart.
Merle departs with Mother. Left alone in the living room, Trump slumps back down onto the sofa and switches on the television set, an old-fashioned model with rabbit ears. He idly studies the photograph album as an over-earnest television host announces the upcoming program.
Tonight's Golden Oldies is the enduring, much-loved classic, Show Me the Way to Go Home, a hymn of praise to small-town life where we learn that you don't have to leave home to discover what the world is all about, and that no one is poor who has friends.
However, when we turn our attention away from the television, we find that Truman is peering intently at a wedding photograph of Merle and himself taking their vows in a civil ceremony in a beachside gazebo. Under the scrutiny of a magnifying glass, he discovers that Merle has her fingers crossed. Interior, a living room somewhere, night, the two ladies sit on their sofa, a rug across their knees, sipping a nightcap of hot chocolate. They stare into camera.
Remember at the wedding, that dog?
Oh, started howling when they took their vows.
And the plastic horseshoe fell off when they cut the cake.
Oh, they never had a chance.
Interior kitchen morning, Truman, dressed casually in weekend attire, is at the stove preparing an omelet. Merle hurries into the kitchen in her nurse's uniform. She gulps down a cup of coffee and reaches for her nurse's cap. However, she still has time to adjust the position of a pack of Fibercon cereal, squaring it a little more to camera.
I have to talk to you. But not here. Let's go for a walk.
I'm sorry I'm late.
What's the hurry?
Surgery. The elevator disaster downtown on the news last night. Cable snapped. A car dropped 10 floors. Non-union contractors. Monsters. We're starting with an amputation.
Truman's eyes widen. Merle adjusts her hat in the mirror.
That building near yours. Imagine if you'd been in there for some reason. It doesn't bear thinking about.
Truman, lost in thought, picks up the scalding fryer pan with his bare hand. Letting out a howl of pain, he drops the pan.
Arr!
Oh my God!
What do I do?
I don't know.
You're a nurse, aren't you?
Put some butter on it. Or ice?
She looks up the kitchen clock.
Oh, look at the time.
Truman stares after her, the pain of his hand forgotten for the moment. He watches Merle ride her bicycle down the driveway. Truman exits the house. Exterior Sea Haven Street Hospital parking lot day. Riding a bicycle of his own, Truman follows Merle to work. Staying a safe distance back, he watches her enter the hospital. Interior hospital day. Truman makes his way along various corridors. All seems as it should. Doctors confer with nursing staff and patients. Gurneys are wheeled about with their passengers looking suitably traumatized. Truman approaches a nursing sister.
I'm looking for my wife, a Nurse Burbank. It's important.
I'm afraid that's impossible. She's in pre-op.
Sure, okay, fine. Can you pass on a message?
I'll try.
Tell her I had to go to Fiji. I'll call her when I get there.
When you get to Fiji.
You got it.
Fine. I'll tell her.
The nurse walks off, disappearing through a set of doors. Truman hesitates before following her. Interior, various hospital corridors day. The nurse walks briskly. Fewer people about. Truman discreetly following behind. The nurse breaks into a jog. Truman hurries to keep up with her, dodging around gurneys. Janitors mopping floors. Interior, outside operating theater day. The nurse, hastily scrubbed and gowned, enters the theater. Truman hesitates but dares not enter. He grabs a mask of his own. Looking through the glass window in the operating theater door, he sees the young woman seen in the hastily fixed elevator car the day before, lying on the operating table, a blood-soaked bandage covering her left leg. Merle, wearing a surgical gown and mask, assists the surgeon. The sister hovers nervously in the background.
Scalpel.
Merle very slowly selects a scalpel from a tray of instruments and awkwardly hands it to the surgeon.
I'm making my primary incision just above the left knee.
The patient's eyes blink open in horror. The anesthetics steps in Truman's view before he can get a good look. Suddenly, a security guard appears beside Truman and takes him by the arm.
This ain't gonna be pretty unless you're family of the patient. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
No problem. I don't want to cause any trouble.
Interior travel agency day. Truman takes a seat at the only desk in an empty travel agency. The travel brochures and posters that adorn the walls all feature destinations that bear a striking similarity to picturesque Sea Haven. Another poster spells out the dangers of travel. Travelers beware, terrorists, disease, wild animals, street gangs. A female travel agent enters from a rear door.
I'm sorry to keep you. How can I help?
I want to book a flight to Fiji.
Where exactly?
Fiji.
Where in Fiji? What island?
I'm sorry, the biggest one.
Vita Lavu. For how many?
One.
When do you want to leave? Remembering, of course, you do lose a day on the way there.
Today.
I'm sorry, I don't have anything for at least a month.
A month?
It's the busy season.
You're a travel agent, aren't you? Doris, your job is to help people travel?
I do have a fabulous rate on a cruise ship departing for Fiji tomorrow, but she wouldn't want to do that.
Why wouldn't I?
I thought you were in a hurry.
That's right.
Do you want to book a flight?
It doesn't matter. I'll make other arrangements.
Exterior city street day. Emerging onto the street, Truman looks across to the building which he entered the previous day. It is now cordoned off with police tape after the elevator disaster. Flowers have been laid at the doorway. Exterior Greyhound bus station day. The Greyhound bus, bound for Chicago, according to its destination sign, sits idling at the stop. Just as a burly supervisor is about to wave the bus on its way, Truman dashes into the station.
Last call for Chicago.
Truman jumps onto the bus behind the last boarding passenger, a young soldier.
Windy City, here we come.
Interior Greyhound bus day. Truman takes a seat by the window. An awkward silence descends over the bus, and we were supposed to stop, weren't we? Because it's time to take a break.
Intermission time. Good
Intermission.
catch, John. This intermission has been brought to you by Sea Haven Table Reads. All right. We're almost back. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
Ready to
You?
play my favorite character of the night.
Beer drinker?
This has actually given me more energy than what I started with.
Good.
That's great.
Acting always gives me energy.
I realize I stole someone's line. I'm old woman one, not old lady.
Well, who cares? We're
I
getting done.
apologize.
Who cares?
I care. It was my role. Ah!
Oh, don't apologize. Like, it's exhausting to hear.
I was
I'm
so
sorry.
ready to be an
I'm
old
sorry.
woman. Now I have to wait a few years, but only a few.
Oh my God. You're not old. You look maybe my age.
I don't know how old you are.
34.
Thanks.
All right.
I'm only 65.
You're not. You're not even 60.
Not even. Maybe 16.
Oh my.
All right. Not sure if Clint is back
I
yet.
doubt Jacob's even 50. I doubt that very much.
Even.
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought you were like 23, 24.
Jacob?
Started, man.
Jacob's maybe 40.
55.
Jacob's 20.
Page 55 is what we just finished. Page 56 is what we're going to next.
Nice segue.
Chapter 56.
You guys ready?
All
to go?
right. If everybody's here, what was that, Don?
I was asking if you're ready.
I
Sorry.
think we are.
Oh, yeah.
We are ready to knock out the second half of the Truman Show.
Okay. Truman takes a seat by a window. An awkward silence descends over the bus. The other passengers, a mother with a restless child, several tourists, an old couple, and the young soldier, all stare stiffly straight ahead, averting their eyes from Truman. No one is more uncomfortable than the bus driver. Beads of perspiration on his head. He fumbles for the gear shift, apparently unsure how to operate it. The gears grind. The other passengers try not to notice. The child, tugging her mother's sleeve, points to Truman. Her mother makes her face the front of the bus. Finally, the supervisor enters the bus. And the supervisor says,
Everybody off. We got a problem.
the relieved passengers hurriedly exit until Truman is the only one remaining on the bus. The bus driver looks almost sorry for Truman, who sits resolutely in his seat, the hint of a tear of frustration in his eyes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, son.
Interior of bar somewhere day. The bar seen earlier. A small group of patrons discuss developments. The waitress seems upset, occasionally glancing to camera as she pours a beer.
Why would he want to go to Chicago? Who does he know from there?
His doctor came from Chicago, didn't he?
Wasn't his father from Chicago?
He's not going to Chicago. He's not going anywhere. He has to have it out with Meryl.
Exterior street, Truman's bicycle day. As Truman rides home on his bicycle, he stares wildly about him. The rearview mirror of his bicycle is suddenly cause for concern. So are the trees and street lamps lining the roadway. Exterior, Truman's backyard day. Truman, staring at the highway from the bottom of the garden, doesn't bother to look up as Meryl, still wearing her nurse's uniform, approaches.
You see that car way down there? I bet it's a Subaru station wagon.
Merle looks idly over the fence at the approaching car. Finally, a Subaru station wagon motors by. Merle is unimpressed. Truman turns his back on the highway to continue his game.
I predict the next 4 cars will be a white Honda Civic, a blue and white Dodge Dart with the front hubcap missing, a Volkswagen Beetle with a dented fender, and a motorcycle.
Merle doesn't wish to participate in the game and makes for the house. Truman holds her arm, forcing her to watch. He turns to check his prediction. A convoy of cars approaches.
There's the Honda, the Dodge. Here comes that dented Beetle.
Merle's attention wavers. Truman tightens his grip.
Look,
Following the VW is a school bus.
Where's the motorcycle?
Truman is momentarily disappointed.
don't you want to know how I did that?
A motorcycle putters by. Merle turns and walks back to the house. He hurries after her.
I invited Marlon and Rita for a barbecue Sunday. I thought I'd make a potato salad. Remind me.
I won't be here Sunday.
We need more charcoal.
Are you listening to a word I'm saying?
You're upset because you want to go to Fiji. Is that it?
Truman is puzzled by her conciliatory tone.
Okay, do it. Get it out of your system. Save for a few months and go. There. Happy now? I'm going to go take a shower.
She turns away.
Let's go now.
What?
Despite her protests, Truman drags Merle towards his car.
I'm ready to go now. Why wait?
Interior Truman's car day. Truman holds Merle's wrist to stop her exiting the car and accelerates out of the driveway in reverse without looking, almost running over Pluto the dog and Spencer with his garbage can. Truman starts circling a gazebo at the center of the roundabout faster and faster.
Where shall we go? Where shall we go? Spontaneity is what it's all about. Forget Fiji. We can't very well drive to Fiji, can we? What about Atlantic City?
You hate gambling.
That's right. I do, don't I?
So why do you want to go?
Because I never have. That's why you go places, isn't it?
Truman, I think I'm going to throw up.
Truman roars off down the street.
Me too.
Almost immediately, Truman encounters a traffic snarl.
So much traffic this time of day. Does that strike you as peculiar?
Without warning, Truman suddenly dives down a side street, but his move is anticipated. At the end of the street, a pack of cars suddenly appears. Other vehicles fill the gap behind.
Blocked at every turn. Beautifully synchronized. Don't you agree?
You're blaming me for the traffic?
Should I?
Truman reverses suddenly and makes a U-turn.
You're right. We could be stuck here for hours. Could be like this all the way to Atlantic City. Let's go back. I'm sorry. I don't know what got into me.
Truman starts heading back the way they came, the roadway now relatively free of traffic.
Would you please slow down, Truman?
Truman floors the car. The car flies past their house.
Truman, that was our house.
I've changed my mind again. What's New Orleans like this time of year? Mardi Gras? Okay, let's just see where the road takes us.
Let me out, Truman. You're not right in the head. You want to go destroy yourself? You do it on your own.
I think I'd like a little company.
As he speeds erratically, Truman glances at the streets on either side of the main road where he discovers a distinct lack of moving traffic.
Look, Meryl, no cars. I don't run into traffic. The traffic follows me around. We're in a moving pack, don't you see?
Interior, exterior, Truman's car, bridge, day. But Truman's clear path is short-lived. He is forced to slow once again behind a line of other cars at a bridge.
It's hard to go places, isn't it?
There's been an accident, Truman.
There's no accident. It's just more stalling.
Truman floors the car again and swerves into the oncoming lane. He roars along the bridge on the wrong side of the road. Near the end of the bridge, a distraught motorist dashes into the middle of the road, waving his arms. Truman slams on the brakes.
Is there a doctor? A nurse?
Truman, it's a child. I've got to help.
You'll be fine.
Truman roars on, almost bowling over the concerned motorist.
Truman, I took the hypocrite oath.
I bet you did.
Truman roars past a sign that reads, "You are now leaving Sea Haven. Are you sure that's a good idea?" Back at the accident scene, the little boy, apparently uninjured, sits up. Interior, exterior car, day. They roar past an illuminated sign, "Forest fire warning, extreme danger."
Truman, what about that sign?
I'm sure they're just exaggerating.
Suddenly, a 20-foot high wall of flame shoots across the roadway in front of them, as if someone flicked on a gas switch.
What about that? Do you believe that?
Truman experiences his first moment of doubt. He looks to the terrified Meryl, then closes his eyes tightly and accelerates through the firewall. He is startled to find that they have emerged on the other side, singed but unscathed. However, the open road in front of them now disturbs Truman for a different reason: its sheer lack of anything unusual. Signs along the road advertise motels and give directions to other destinations. I-6211, 2 miles, motel, no-tel, motel, pool, color TV. Merle also now appears to be resigned to the journey.
So what do we do for money when we get to New Orleans?
I've got my Sea Haven bank card.
So we just eat into our savings? Is that the idea? I'd better call your mother when we get there. She'll be worried sick. I don't know how she's going to take this.
Truman appears very unsure of himself. Exterior roadway, day. However, there is still a barrier between Truman and Bourbon Street. The highway leading to a Cloverleaf Freeway junction in the distance is completely blocked off by Sea Haven police cars. No way past. Nuclear silos in the distance spew out in an ominous puff of smoke. A sign reads, "Sea Haven Island Nuclear Power Station. Clean, safe, economical. More power to you." Truman is forced to slow at the police barricade.
Now what?
Leak at the plant. They had to shut her down.
Is there any way around?
The whole area is being evacuated.
Well, thank you for your help.
Hey, you're welcome, Truman.
Truman's eyes widen at the mention of his name from an apparent stranger. As the officer turns, Truman bolts from the car, leaving Merrill in the passenger seat.
Truman, come back!
Truman flees into the forest. Enter a living room somewhere day. The two old ladies have observed before are almost overcome with tension. One old lady reaches out for her companion's hand. Exterior forest near Sea Haven nuclear power plant day. Truman bursts past the alien-looking hazardous water workers in their protective suits carrying detection instruments. The workers give chase in their cumbersome suits, trying to cut off his path. Nearing the edge of the forest, Truman hears the sound of hammers and saws, but before he has time to see the source of the sound, he is tackled to the ground. As Sea Haven police officers drag him away, one of the waste workers walks the remaining few yards, pushing aside a wall of tropical foliage. We now see Truman was prevented from seeing. A Polynesian island is under construction by dozens of riggers, painters, and set decorators. Large cranes are lifting palm trees into place. A fake volcano is being tested in the distance, and rehearsals for a firewalking ceremony are underway, complete with hot coals, drummers, and firewalkers in native dress. The wings and fuselage of an airliner are being constructed on a hydraulic gimbal. Leading into one side of the airliner is a covered walkway, emblazoned with a sign, Sea Haven Island Departures. Emerging from the opposite side of the airliner is an old-fashioned airline stairway with the sign, Welcome to Fiji. At the foot of the steps, two women in Fijian dress are being shown the correct way to present a floral lei.
Oh, did he see us? Negative.
Interior Truman's house kitchen night. Merle shows two Sea Haven police officers out the back door.
Thank you. Policeman.
Policeman 1 says,
Hey, you're lucky he's not glowing, ma'am. Next time we'll have to charge him.
Merle joins Truman at the kitchen table. Truman applauds ironically.
Let me get you some help, Truman. You're not well.
Why do you want to have a child with me? You can't stand me.
That's not true.
Merle picks up a package and holds it to camera.
Why don't I make you some of this new mocha cocoa drink? All natural. Cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mount Nicaragua. No artificial sweeteners.
What the hell are you talking about?
I've tasted other cocos. This is the best.
Truman rises from the table and backs her around the room.
What the hell does that have to do with anything? Tell me what's happening.
You're having a nervous breakdown. That's what's happening.
You're part of this, aren't you?
Merle grabs the chef's mate from the counter to protect herself. She points the potato peeler at him.
Truman, you're scaring me.
Truman looks into her eyes and, with surprising swiftness, grabs her wrist and disarms her.
No, you're scaring me, Meryl.
Truman grabs Merrill and turns the chef's mate on her. He stares widely about him.
Stop this now. I'll do it. I swear.
Something.
Upon hearing her remark, Truman's eyes widen, sensing that she too is addressing a third person. He jerks her head around to read her face.
Who are you talking to?
You. You're the one talking to walls.
No, you said do something. Who are you talking to? Tell me.
Truman, stop it.
Suddenly, the front door chimes.
Right on time. Cops must be telepathic.
Truman grabs his peeler and marches Merle down the hallway to the front door. The doorbell chimes a second and third time more insistently.
Stay where you are.
Truman, it's me, Marlin. I need to talk to you.
Truman flinches. He was so convinced it would be the police. He takes a step back against the hallway wall. Before he can decide what to do, Marlin has opened the unlocked front door to be confronted with the sight of Truman holding the peeler to Merrill's throat. Marlin locks his eyes with Truman. Sizing up the situation, he slowly but decisively removes the peeler from Truman's hand. Merle wrenches herself free from Truman's now limp grasp and collapses into Marlin's arms, sobbing.
How can anyone expect me to carry on under these conditions? This is so unprofessional!
Exterior unfished bridge night. Marlin and Truman, both nursing bottles of beer, sit on the end of the unfinished bridge.
I don't know what to think, Marlin. Maybe I'm going out of my mind, but I get the feeling the whole world revolves around me somehow.
It's a lot of a world for one man. You sure that's not wishful thinking? You're wishing you wishing you'd made something more of yourself? Christ, Truman, who hasn't sat on the John and had an imaginary interview on Sea Haven tonight? Who hasn't wanted to be somebody?
This is different. Everybody seems to be in on it.
Marlin looks around as if drawing inspiration from somewhere in the night.
True. We've known each other since before we were in long paths. The only way we've ever made it through high school was cheating off each other's test papers. Jesus, they were identical. I always liked that because whatever the answer was,
Truman chimes in, nodding fondly at the memory.
we were right together and we were wrong together. The only night like either of us ever spent in jail, we spent together. I wet myself, but you never told anyone. I was best man at your wedding, and my brother was best man at my wedding, and you didn't talk to me for a month over that. And I didn't blame you because you've been more of a brother to me than he's ever been.
Truman is slowly coming around, Marlin's speech from the heart soothing away his pain.
I know things haven't worked out for either of us, like we used to sit up on Monroe Avenue all night and dream they would. We all let opportunities pass us by. None of us asked for the dance as often as we should. I know that feeling when it's like everything's slipping away and you shouldn't, and you don't want to believe it. So you look for answers someplace else. But well, the point is, I would gladly step in front of traffic for you.
Interior control room night. Christoph stares intently into camera, holding his distinctive earpiece to his head. Besides him, his ever-present assistant, Chloe.
And the last thing I'd ever do is lie to you.
Exterior freeway night.
And the last thing I'd ever do is lie to you. Think about it, Truman. If everybody's in on it, I'd have to be in on it too. I'm not in on it because there is no it.
So what you are saying, Marlin, the whole thing has been in my head?
Not the whole thing, Truman. You were right about one thing.
What's that?
The thing that started all of this.
Truman looks up in the direction of Marlin's gaze. A figure stands at the end of the freeway, a homeless man. It is his father, Kirk.
Yes, he somehow survived somehow. He's got quite a story to tell.
Marlin helps Truman to his feet. Truman still transfixed by the figure.
Go to him.
Interior control room night. Christoph continues to direct the action from what is now revealed to be the control room of a television studio.
Go wide. Live cam 8. Light cam 8.
In a wide shot from one of the streetlights lining the empty freeway, we see Truman walking towards his long-lost father.
Car cam 12. And cue music. Beethoven. Third Symphony. Second movement.
Music swells. Kirk and Truman embrace in the middle of the freeway. Truman takes his father's ring from his own finger.
Ring cam.
We see a close-up on Kirk from the ring's point of view. Truman places the ring in the palm of his father's hand.
Button cam 3.
We see a close-up of Truman from a camera on Kirk's coat.
I never stopped believing.
Kirk.
Thank you, my son.
And wide.
Simone looks to his director.
Close up.
No, hold back.
The crew watches Kirk and Truman embrace.
After all those years. Wasted.
We have a lot of years ahead.
Interior control room night. Christoph allows himself a smile of satisfaction.
And fade up music. Now go in close.
As a tight two-shot of father and son fills the screen, the orchestra swells with triumphant music. Exterior freeway night. Father and son remain in the embrace. Over Truman's shoulder, we see a flash of guilt flicker across Marlon's face. Interior control room night. Christoph, emotionally drained by the events, slumps in his chair. Chloe rests a supportive hand on his shoulder. The head of the network, Moses, a man in his 70s, enters with his young assistant, Roman, their faces full of admiration.
Well done. Well done, everyone.
Interior, a bedroom somewhere night. A young woman reclines on a bed, her back against the wall. Propped up on her knees is a book. However, she's not reading, but staring straight into camera. A look of profound sadness on her face. It is Sylvia. From her point of view, we see a portable television set on a table at the foot of the bed. On the television is a live picture of Truman, the first time we have seen him on a television screen. He is sitting at his kitchen table, unaware of the cameras recording him. The shot is static. He just sits there in silence, a steaming cup of cocoa in front of him and a plate of untouched cookies. At one point, a sponsor's border appears on the screen, tastefully framing the action with the message Mococo Cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mount Nicaragua. After several seconds, the border disappears. Suddenly, the live picture of Truman shrinks into a window on a screen to accommodate a title sequence that begins to play around the edge of the image. The Truman Show. Theme music begins. The camera cranes up and over the Hollywood sign, the flatlands of Burbank stretching into the distance.
From a network that never sleeps, broadcasting live and unedited 24 hours a day, 7 days a week around the globe.
During this continuous aerial shot, overlapping scenes from Truman's life appear in chronological order from infancy to adolescence and finally adulthood. Photographs of leading cast members also appear in individual frames.
With Hannah Gill as Meryl Burbank, Lewis Coltrane as Marlon, Alanis Montclair as Mother, reintroducing Walter Moore as her husband Kirk.
The music swells as the camera approaches a mammoth structure at the base of the mountains, a dome so vast it dwarfs everything around it. At the top of the dome is a huge painting of Truman's face encircled by satellite dishes. Inside each dish is a single letter spelled out, The Truman Show. A banner proclaims 30th great year.
And Truman Burbank as himself, taped in the world's largest studio, one of only 2 man-made structures visible from space, comes the longest-running documentary soap opera in history. Now in its 30th great year, The Truman Show!
The camera rushes towards the outside wall of the gigantic dome, bathed in sunlight. When we emerge from the other side, it is night. The camera cranes up from a calm, moonlit ocean to the night sky above. As we near the crescent-shaped moon, we discover that it is actually a window overlooking Sea Haven. Standing in the crater window is the suited Christoph. Pulling back from the window, we reveal an interviewer, mid-40s, conservative suit and hair, a large television show, a live picture of Truman immersed in his book.
I'm your host, Mike Michelson, coming to you live from the Lunar Room on the 121st story of the Omicron Ecosphere, 2,800 feet above Sea Haven Island. Tonight, a special edition of True Talk, the forum where we discuss and analyze recent events on the show. We are honored to bring you a rare and exclusive interview with the show's conceiver, creator, televisionary, the man in the moon himself, Christoph. I remind viewers that as the Truman Show is a living history, it is our practice to keep the image of Truman on the screen at all times.
A title appears. Due to the live and unedited nature of the program, viewer discretion is advised. The interviewer turns to Christoph.
Welcome.
Thank you.
The catalyst for your recent dramatic events was, of course, Truman's father, Kirk, and his infiltration onto the show. Before we discuss that, it's worth reminding viewers that this isn't the first time someone from the outside world has tried to reach Truman.
We have had our close calls in the past.
Behind the two men, the constantly playing image of Truman engrossed in his book is relegated to a window of the screen. Playback, interior, Truman's home, Christmas morning. Truman, 7, is opening presents under the tree. Kirk and Mother proudly looking on.
Who can forget the infamous Christmas present incident in the 7th season?
Suddenly, a small man bursts from a large Christmas parcel. Kirk and the man grapple on the floor in front of the stunned 7-year-old. Kirk drags him away. Playback, exterior, City Street day. As an adult, Truman makes his way to work. A parachutist drops from the sky into the main street, only yards behind him.
And only last summer, Billy Blackbird made his 3rd attempt leaping from the lighting gantry.
The parachutist is dressed entirely in black with a message emblazoned on his chest. Truman, you're on TV. Commuters grab the man and drag him away. Truman, blissfully unaware of the incident.
These people have their own agendas. Many just want to be on television themselves.
Playback, exterior, City Street day. The encounter between Truman and the homeless Kirk is replayed up to the point where Kirk is bundled onto the bus.
Of course, there hasn't been anything compared with this. The first attempt, an intruder, has been a former cast member.
A dead one at that.
And certainly the first time that an intruder has been rewarded with a starring role. Oh, I really must congratulate you on writing Kirk back in. It's a masterstroke.
Since Kirk started this whole crisis in Truman's life, I came to the conclusion that he was the only one who could end it.
I understand it's hardly a life of his own since he left the show. How did you convince him? Was it the opportunity to be close to Truman again?
That and a fat new contract.
How do you intend to explain his 22-year absence?
Amnesia.
Of course.
The interviewer consults his note.
Let's talk ratings. Truman has always enjoyed top 10 status, but the huge surge over the last few days, how do you hope to sustain that audience now that Truman appears to have reconciled himself?
As you know, ratings have never been our primary goal. I imagine we'll lose those voyeurs only interested in witnessing Truman's latest torment. However, I'm certain that our core audience will remain loyal.
But recent events have been so dramatic. It does raise the perennial question. What keeps us watching this one man 24 hours a day, eating, sleeping, working, sitting for hours in contemplation?
It has to be the reality.
During this segment, we cut to a cross-section of viewers, the waitress and barman in the bar, the 2 old women on their sofa, the 2 security guards, and the man in the bath, listening to Christoph's theories on their viewing habits.
We've become tired of watching actors give up us phony emotions, bored with pyrotechnics and special effects. While the world he inhabits is counterfeit, there's nothing fake about Truman himself. No scripts, no cue cards. It's not always Shakespeare, but it's genuine. That's how he can support an entire channel.
A window into the human condition?
I prefer to think of it as a mirror.
At that moment, Truman, still live on the screen, unwittingly punctuates the pretentious remark with a belch. Christoph and the interviewer try not to notice.
Not only does he give us a glimpse of the truth, he gives us a glimpse of ourselves.
But how do you account for the popularity of those 8 hours a day when Truman sleeps?
We find many viewers leave him all night for comfort. Haven't you ever watched your child or your lover sleep?
Let's go to some of those viewers' calls.
The interviewer presses a blinking illuminated button on his desk high-tech phone terminal. During this segment, various windows open on the screen advertising products from the Truman catalog.
Charlotte, North Carolina, for Christoph.
Hello?
You're on call. You're on caller. Go ahead.
Christoph, it's such a great honor to speak with you.
Thank you.
How much of a strain has the last few days placed on the actors?
Working on Truman has always been a huge commitment for any actor, not just in terms of separation from friends and family, but since Truman essentially drives the plot, it is a never-ending improvisation. Witness Marlon's extraordinary performance in the recent father and son reunion episode.
Are we talking Emmys?
Certainly a nomination.
Of course. Truman has always been very much on casting. On
As
casting.
with our own lives, the only people he can't cast are his family. Otherwise, he has final approval, able to elevate an extra into a lead role, as with the case with his only real friend, Marlon. Or alternatively, relegate a star to a bit player.
Istanbul, Turkey. You're on with master videographer Christoph.
Oh, Christoph, I've admired your work my whole life, although I can't say I've seen it all.
Who can?
Can you settle an argument for me? What's the longest time Truman has been off camera?
In his entire life, 42 minutes. A technical fault in the 12th season accounts for most of that time. The remainder generally results from blind spots in the early days when Truman would stray out of range of our cameras.
We should remind viewers that Truman, especially as a child, presented a challenge for the production.
Let me demonstrate some examples.
Footage of Truman as a baby appears on the screen as a newborn infant, held in a pair of anonymous latex gloves, hands, and as a toddler dressed in various baby outfits, on one occasion looking through the bars of his crib.
He was curious from birth, premature by 2 weeks, as if he couldn't wait to get started.
Of course, his eagerness to leave his mother's womb also meant he was the one selected.
In competition with 5 other unwanted pregnancies, the casting of a show determined by an air date. He was the one who arrived on cue.
Who knew that a show originally meant to last 1 year, bringing up baby, would turn into a cradle to grave concept? He is, in fact, the first child in the world to be legally adopted by a corporation.
That's correct.
And the show now generates a yearly income equivalent to the gross national product of a small country.
People forget it takes the population of an entire country to keep the show running.
No, of course not. And since the show runs 24 hours a day with no commercial breaks, the staggering profits are all generated from product placement.
Yes, everything you see on the show is for sale, from the actor's wardrobe, food products, to the very home they live in.
All products carefully chosen and tested by you for quality and aesthetic value.
There's nothing on the show I don't use myself.
And it's all available in the Truman Show catalog. Operators are standing by.
Christoph nods.
Why do you feel that Truman's never come close to discovering the true nature of this world?
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. As the show expanded, excuse me, naturally, we were forced to manufacture ways to keep Truman in Sea Haven, demonstrating that every venture is accompanied by a risk.
The 7-year-old Truman we have seen in other flashbacks, appears on the screen wearing a cowboy outfit. He goes to cross the walkway of a bridge when he is suddenly confronted by a savage dog wearing a spiked collar.
Later, Kirk's drowning made much of this kind of intervention unnecessary.
We freeze on a 7-year-old Truman's terrified face.
You've never actually met Truman yourself. Never thought about doing a cameo, playing a veterinarian or a priest, something like that?
I've been tempted, but I think it's important to retain objectivity. I wouldn't want to get emotionally caught up.
The Hague for Christoph. The Hague? Lost them. Hollywood, California, you're on True Talk.
How can you say he lived a life like any other?
As the bard says, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. The only difference between Truman and ourselves is that his life is more thoroughly documented. He is confronted with the same obstacles and influences that confront us all. He plays his allotted roles, as we all do.
He's not a performer. He's a prisoner.
The interviewer goes to cut off the call, but Christoph stops him.
And can you tell me, caller, that you're not a player on the stage of life, playing out your allotted role? He can leave at any time. If his was more than just a vague ambition, if he were absolutely determined to discover the truth, there's no way we could prevent him. I think what really distresses you, caller, is that ultimately Truman prefers the comfort of his cell, as you call it.
No, you're wrong. He'll prove you wrong. He can still do it.
The interviewer hangs up on the caller. Interior of a bedroom somewhere night. In a darkly lit room, we see Sylvia. It is she who is the confrontational caller, phone still in her hand.
We've learned about life as Truman has, and despite the complaints of a minority, it's been an overwhelmingly positive experience for Truman and for the viewing public.
Let's take another caller. London, England, you're on True Talk.
Hello, Christoph. Congratulations on the way you've handled Truman's sex life. Classical music, the soft lightning on it. But the recent violence caused a problem for the show's sponsors.
The sponsors know the risks going in, although we do try to maintain standards, a level of decorum. For instance, I've never put a camera in the toilet.
Still in silhouette, Sylvia turns down the volume on the television, focusing on the window on the screen that displays Truman. She comes close to the screen, catching his melancholy, saddened by his regression. Interior Truman's basement, morning. Truman breathes in the scent of Sylvia's sweater one last time before reluctantly replacing it in the trunk, together with his book, To the Ends of the Earth, The Age of Exploration. For a final time, he regards his unfinished picture of Sylvia inside, 2 holes where the eyes should be. As he does so, he finds 2 lost paper cuttings, a pair of eyes on the basement floor. He tries them. Ironically, they fit. The picture completed. He closes the trunk anyway. With a sense of finality, he fastens the lock. Interior control room night. The giant on-air monitor in the control room plays a close-up shot of Truman sleeping. Christoph comes close to the monitor and almost touches the screen. As he does so, Truman twitches in his sleep. Interior bathroom morning. Truman wipes the mist from the mirror of the bathroom cabinet and stares into it in a way he has never done before. Interior control room morning. Close up on the giant on-air monitor in the control room. It displays a wide shot of Truman staring into the bathroom mirror. We slowly pull back to reveal Simone and the other video operators sitting at the mixing desk, arranged in tiers reminiscent of an auditorium or NASA's mission control, each mixing desk contains a dozen or so built-in monitors and is designed with a location such as Truman's house, interior, Truman's office, cubicle, Tyrone's deli. The operator at each desk, sitting in a swivel chair and wearing the slimmest of headsets, is responsible for monitoring a particular location. The monitors cover virtually every facet of Truman's life. Camera angles from the interior of Truman's house, his backyard, car, office, the deli he frequents, the seashore to which he is drawn, the unfinished bridge where he golfs with Marlin, many of the locations strangely devoid of people. Simone, seated in the front row of mixing desks, stares back at Truman's image on the monitor, slightly unnerved.
Is he looking at us?
As if to reassure the technician, Truman begins one of his familiar monologues. He talks to the mirror as if being interviewed.
What are my plans now? Well, next I'm thinking of tackling the Yuba River in an authentic canoe from the Algonquin tribe. I'm talking about the North Fork, a Class 5 rapid. Only I'm not going down the Yuba. I'm going up. Do you honestly think for 1 minute I'd go back to some jury office to rubber stamp meaningless documents? Do you?
Truman, you're going to be late.
Truman sighs as he exits the bathroom. Exterior street morning. Truman exchanges a cheery greeting with Spencer.
Hey, Truman. How are you?
Inhale, exhale. Same old thing.
He waves to the Washingtons across the street. He pets Pluto the dog. Interior office day. Back at work at the insurance company, Truman sits in his cubicle making another of his cold calls.
A 42-year-old woman sitting in the second row at an amateur production of Hamlet. Hamlet's dagger slips from his hand and flies into the audience.
A young woman carrying a stack of files catches Truman's eye as she passes. Vivian. She is faintly reminiscent of Sylvia at the same age, even wearing a similar sweater.
What I'm saying is, life is fragile thing. Hello?
Exterior Truman's backyard, Dusk. Truman wheels his lawnmower, deliberately averting his eyes from the back of the house. Staring out of the kitchen window, a tall glass of iced tea in her hand, Merle has been anticipating her husband's appearance. She wears a neck brace. We sense more as a reminder to Truman than for any medical benefit she might derive. Feeling Merrill's eyes burning into his neck, Truman fires up the mower and heads directly towards the symbolically uncut section of grass. We focus on the errant blades of grass as they are severed by the mower, a new elk rotary. The lawn is now uniformly trimmed. Truman's final act of defiance laid to rest. Interior studio conference room night. Christoph stands at a large, specially screened window, silhouetted against the twinkling stars and full moon of a hyperreal night sky. Members of the cast enter the room, principal characters in Truman's life. Merle, Marlin, Mother, Kirk, Tyrone, Lawrence, and the new actress Vivian. They take their places around a long oval table for a story conference, Vivian sitting slightly apart from the rest of the cast. We glimpse over Christoph's shoulder at what he sees. The town of Sea Haven far below, bathed in moonlight. He comes out of his reverie and joins his cast, sitting at the head of the table. In front of him, a TV tablet plays silently, showing Truman drinking a glass of milk in his kitchen.
First of all, I'd like to welcome Walter back onto the show. You may have done us more of a favor than you ever imagined. Regrettably, I also have to inform you that Hannah has chosen not to renew her contract.
All eyes turn to Merle. She looks at the floor.
I'm sure we can all respect her reasons.
Merle receives a sympathetic squeeze of the hand from her co-star Marlin, now out of wardrobe wearing an Armani suit.
As you all know, we have already begun to orchestrate her breakup from Truman. However, on a more optimistic note, I'm pleased to announce that television's first on-air conception will still take place. You witnessed the initial contact this morning. You all know Claudia from her work in theater.
I loved your Ophelia.
Oh, why, thank you.
The rest of the cast nod politely in Claudia's direction. Chloe passes out a bond document to each cast member.
This is a copy of Claudia's backstory. Her character's name is Vivian.
The cast idly flips through the documents prominently stamped on the cover, not to be taken on set.
We intend to entice Truman into the affair as soon as possible. Claudia will make a pass at the insurance seminar Truman's attending. Details are in your schedules. I don't have to tell you how critical the next few weeks will be. This takes us into the next generation, when Truman's child is born. The network will be switching to a 2-channel format to chronicle both lives. What happens when Truman and the baby are both on camera together? This will simply be duplicate coverage. Let's just hope we don't have twins.
When Truman dies, do we go back to the single channel?
The cast turn in his direction. Christoph shoots him a disapproving look. Interior Truman's basement night. Truman sleeps on a cot bed in his basement, more cluttered than usual. A virtual bomb site. Dozens of cardboard boxes stacked everywhere. Although he is covered in bedding, his sock-clad feet stick out of the bed covers. The outline of his body is still clearly visible. He snores quietly. Interior, various viewer locations night. The two old ladies have nodded off on their sofa in front of the television. Their breathing and occasional snores echo those of Truman. In the bar, the waitress, normally an avid viewer, only idly glances to the screen as she passes with a tray of drinks. The man in the bath resignedly lets the water out of the tub and goes to get out. The mother only occasionally glances to the screen as she feeds her baby. Her daughter has her eyes closed, bopping to her Walkman. Interior control room night. Simeon sits at his desk, his control desk, directing the night shift. He pays scant attention to the big screen, giving him his instructions in a lethargic, metronomic manner.
Ready to go to 2.
An operator eating a slice of pizza presses one of the illuminated buttons on the panel, and the camera angle changes to a close shot of Truman's covered head. The camera stays on the blanketed head for a long moment.
And back to the medium.
Another button is pressed and the angle changed. A trace of frustration is evident in the control room. Recording a sleeping subject is unrewarding enough without also having to contend with Truman's recently acquired camera shyness.
And wide.
What a loser.
Who cares? Makes life easier for us. He is what he is.
At the far end of the control room, one of the large double doors opens and Christoph enters, dressed in a smoking jacket. Simeon, let's call him Simon, and the operators subtly straighten in their chairs. Christoph pretends not to notice. He is staring intently at the on-air monitor.
Why is he in the basement?
He moved down there after Meryl packed up and left.
Why wasn't I told? Any unpredictable behavior has to be reported. Is that the best shot we can get?
What's to see?
What's on the clock cam?
The operator punches up the camera. Hidden inside a broken cuckoo clock, a box obscures the view.
Yeah, there's an obstruction.
Christoph watches Truman, a trace of concern in his eyes. Chloe enters.
No, I was going to call you, but halfway through he gave up and fell asleep.
Apparently satisfied, Christoph turns to an operator.
I want to check the setups for tomorrow's insurance convention.
Reading off the notes in Chloe's folder, the operator punches up a batch of camera angles on smaller preview monitors. They show a generic-looking hotel devoid of actors. A banner in reception reads, "Welcome, Sea Haven Life and Accident." The operators look to Christoph for approval and realizes his producer's attention has wandered. Christoph has wandered down to the front of the room to stand beside the giant on-air monitor, still displaying the sleeping figure of Truman.
Give me a shot from Truman's ring.
Gave it back to his father.
Christoph nods.
Why is he so still?
Christoph picks up a spare headset from the panel and puts it to his ear.
Isolate the audio.
An operator pushes up an audio fader on the panel. Christoph and his colleagues listen to Truman's steady breathing in their headphones.
He's still breathing.
Simeon and the operators nod, reassured that nothing is amiss. Christoph is not so easily convinced.
Give me a preview. An ECU on his torso.
A camera hidden in the room's lamp zooms in to Truman's prone outline. While the breathing remains steady, the body does not rise and fall. Christoph, still listening to his headphones, detects a faint scratching sound followed by a strange thud.
Phone him.
Chloe picks up a phone connected to the desk and dials.
Tell him it's a wrong number.
The upstairs phone begins to ring. Truman doesn't flinch. Interior, an office building somewhere, reception night. The two security guards are intrigued by Truman's unanswered phone on their television set. Interior, control room night. Christoph and Simeon concentrate on another separate monitor playing in fast rewind. Time code in the bottom right-hand corner. It is a recording of the night's transmission. Simeon pauses on the last on-camera appearance by Truman. They watch Truman, on screen, switch off the basement light and climb into the cot bed fully clothed, immediately pulling the covers over his head. As the light is switched off, the recording camera automatically switches to night vision. Simeon continues to play at normal speed, now and then scrolling forward in fast forward mode. Christoph suddenly points to the screen.
There. Freeze. Zoom into the chair.
Simeon types the appropriate command.
Enhance. There.
On the blown up screen between a cardboard box and a chair leg, it is barely possible to make out Truman's hand as he crawls commando style from beneath the covers and behind a cardboard box near the large tool cupboard. Simeon points out an angle of the empty staircase.
He hasn't gone up the stairs. He's still in the room.
Exterior, Truman's house, night. Marlon's car squeals to a halt outside Truman's house. Hurriedly, dressed in jeans and coat over a bare chest, he dashes barefoot up the porch to the front door. He tries the door handle, pounds on the door, and rings the doorbell simultaneously, shouting Truman's name all the while.
True. Earthquake, alert, flood. We've got to get outside onto the street. True.
Frustrated, Marlon picks up one of Merle's carefully nurtured flower pots from beneath the porch window.
I'm coming in, True.
Marlon hurls the flower pot through the window. Interior, Truman's house, basement, night. Marlon switches on the light and clambers down the wooden stairs to the basement. He pushes away the clutter and finally stands at his co-star's bedside. He gingerly lifts the covers. Beneath the bedding, clothes have been carefully piled to resemble a sleeping figure. Socks placed on the end of two tree branches. Buried amongst the clothes is Truman's portable tape recorder. Marlon places the recorder next to his ear. The cassette plays the sound of Truman breathing. Interior, control room, night. Christoph stares wide-eyed at the image on the on-air monitor of Marlon.
Find him, Marlon.
Interior basement night. Marlin starts frantically pushing aside the clutter, sending Truman's model ships and other hobbies crashing to the floor, eliminating all over possible hiding places. He confronts Truman's tool closet. The wall map of the Fiji Islands still hanging on the door. Marlin rips open the door and is hit with a shaft of light, moonlight. The top of the closet has been removed, and a crude tunnel containing a ladder heads almost directly upwards to the outside of the house. The bottom of the closet is ankle deep with dirt. Embedded in the tunnel wall is Merle's chef's mate, Truman's digging implement. Exterior Truman's house, night. Marlin's head pops up outside the house. Unable to help himself, Marlin looks directly into a wide-shot camera concealed in the streetlight. Interior control room, night.
Marlin, don't look at the camera. Say something.
What? He's gone.
Cut transmission.
Simeon hesitates, unsure if he has heard correctly. He looks to Christoph for confirmation, his finger poised over an emergency button.
I said cut!
Christoph lunges forward and presses the button himself. The scene in Truman's bedroom playing on the on-air monitor is abruptly replaced by the Truman logo and the message, "Technical fault. Please stand by." Interior, a living room somewhere, night. The two old women on the sofa are stunned to see their TV screen go blank. Interior, a bar somewhere, night. Heads also turn in the bar, permanently tuned to the Truman channel. Interior, an apartment somewhere, night. The other loyal viewer, transfixed by the test card, is Sylvia, alone in her darkened apartment. Interior, control room, night. Reminiscent of a military headquarters in wartime, the control room is scene of barely controlled panic. Security guards come and go. Phones ring. Lights flash. Every available video mixer is working. The monitors, the eyes of the searchers are systematically scrutinized for any sign of Truman. Christoph orchestrates operations from his position at the center of the control panel.
Declared a curfew. Everyone else is at first positions.
All prop cars accounted for?
He has to be on foot. He has the world's most recognizable faces. He cannot disappear.
Exterior, Sea Haven, Main Street, night. We pan down one empty street after another. The town center is totally, eerily deserted. Suddenly, a line of people comes around the corner, fanned out across the street, a manhunt. People of every description, shoulder to shoulder, marching down the otherwise empty streets the way a search is conducted at a crime scene. The lines include principals and extras lined arm in arm, wardrobe for their usual role as executives and secretaries, store clerks, telephonists, maintenance and construction workers, waiters and waitresses, cooks, shoppers, health workers, security guards, postal workers, police officers, firefighters, and homeless people. We occasionally glimpse Truman's friend and colleagues amongst the searchers, Marlin, Lawrence, Mother, and Kirk, Vivian, and Tyrone. Even the Washingtons and Spencer and Pluto have joined the search. A snarling Pluto, straining at the leash, has now assumed the role of tracker dog. Truman's pajamas waved in front of his nose, clearly miscast as the friendly neighborhood pooch. Searchlights from Sea Haven's many towers sweep the town. Once the light falls on the blackened face cowering in the bushes beside a picket fence, the fence now faintly reminiscent of prison bars. Even the beam of the full moon appears to be sweeping the town like a searchlight. Exterior bridge, night. Barriers have been erected at the bridge leading out of the Sea Haven, guarded by several Sea Haven police cars. An extra dressed as a derelict wheels his shopping cart towards the bridge. The derelict takes a look along the walkway alongside the bridge as if participating in the search. He finds a police officer standing on the walkway. The police officer says,
Any sign of him?
Not yet.
Take it easy.
Interior control room, night. A video operator in the 6th row watches the scene on one of his monitors, the derelict standing with his back to the camera. Just as the derelict turns toward camera, the operator turns away to take a sip of coffee. He misses what we see on his monitor. The derelict's blackened face belongs to Truman. Exterior bridge night. The disguised Truman heads back to town. Interior control room night. Christoph turns to a lighting technician.
We need more light.
Exterior Sea Haven, streets night. A building to building, floor to floor, office to office search is also being conducted, each structure secured as they go. The searchers paying special attention to potential blind spots such as closets, dumpsters, manholes, sewers, car trunks, trees, and shrubbery. We focus on one of the waves of searchers. Truman has linked arms in the middle of a row, his disguise still holding up. Interior control room night. Christoph glances impatiently at his watch.
We'll never find him like this. What time is it?
It's too early.
It doesn't matter. Cue the sun.
Exterior streets night day. The sun instantly rises over Sea Haven. Cast and extras shade their eyes from the sudden glare. Interior control room night. While his colleagues monitor the bank of screens, Christoph has been joined by the two anxious studio executives, Moses and Roman.
Rumors are circulating he's dead. The media's in a feeding frenzy. Phone lines are jammed. Every network has pirate shots of Marilyn in the closet. The sponsors are threatening to rip up their contracts.
Why? We're getting higher ratings for that graphic than any time in the show's history.
Interior bar night. The television above the bar carries the test card. Patrons animatedly discuss Truman's fate over their drinks. Some place bets with each other on Truman's fate. Exterior electronics store night. A crowd of passerby hover around a display of televisions in the window of an electronics store, awaiting developments. Interior control room night. The fan of extras reaches the harbor and automatically turns to make another sweep.
But when we flush him out, how do we explain this?
We tell him the truth.
Chloe looks askance at Christoph.
We're making a movie.
Exterior harborside day. However, as he bypasses the entrance to the ticket box, he hasn't bargained on coming face to face with another straggler from the search. Marlin. Truman freezes in front of his childhood companion. Marlin instantly seen through Truman's homeless disguise. Truman glances nervously in the direction of the searchers, their backs to the two men. They are beginning their next sweep. One shout from Marlin will give Truman away. He is at Marlin's mercy. Without a word, Marlin walks past Truman and rejoins the search. Truman glances back to Marlin's retreating figure, but Marlin never looks back. Exterior dockside day. Truman reaches the edge of the dock. He looks out over the bay. There, riding at anchor some 200 yards out, is a sailboat. The same boat that circled Kirk and Truman's sailboat many years earlier. We see a close-up of Truman's terrified eyes and his blackened face. Staring down at the lapping water, he steels himself, shuts out the doubts, and dives into the water. Interior control room night.
I'm sure we'll get him on the next sweep.
What have we missed?
It's just a matter of time.
Christoph concentrates on a monitor displaying a view of the harbor.
We're not watching the sea.
Why would we?
Sweep the harbor.
His colleagues begin to flick through dozens of waterborne hidden camera shots in moored craft, lighthouses, and buoys, trying to locate Truman. Suddenly, on one of the monitors, there appears a single sail etched against the horizon.
That's got to be him!
How can he sail? He's in insurance.
Resume transmission.
Simone punches at a button, and the image of the sailboat is instantly transferred to a large on-air monitor. Interior old woman's apartment night. The two old women doze against each other on the sofa in front of the TV. The classical music on the television is abruptly replaced by the sound of the wind and sea. One old lady blinks her eyes open, her breath taken away by the sight of Truman at the wheel of the sailboat. She rouses her companion. Interior control room night.
What do we have on that boat?
Simeon scans a computer shot list. He types in a code. A camera from the mast of Truman's sailboat activates. Truman, unaware of the camera, is concentrating on his sailing. Exterior harbor day. By now, the ocean spray has washed most of the dirt from Truman's face. Only a residue remains. The rags he wears are soaked. As he steers, he occasionally refers to a how to sail book from his coat pocket. Interior, a bathroom somewhere, night. The man in the bath we have seen earlier continues to watch from his tub.
I knew he wasn't dead.
Exterior harbor day. Truman is at the wheel of the sailboat, wind filling her sails. Sea Haven left far behind. His is the only craft afloat in the harbor. He sets a course for the open sea as he and his father did long ago. Interior control room night. Christoph and the other production staff watch Truman from a buoy's POV as he sails by.
Get another boat.
The ferry!
Exterior ferry terminal day. A production assistant runs down the dock towards the ferry captain and his crew.
Hey, get that boat out there!
I don't know. We were just told to put on these clothes.
Exterior harbor day. The sea choppier now, rising and falling steeply beneath his boat. Truman nears a large buoy bobbing clumsily in the strong swell. An official-looking sign on the buoy reads, "Dangerous waters, do not enter." We see an extreme close-up of the nautical signpost where a disguised miniature camera tracks Truman's progress. Interior control room night.
How do we stop him?
How else?
Christoph nods to controls on the mixing desk marked wind and rain. Exterior harbor day. Storm clouds roll towards Truman's boat at an alarming speed. He looks back towards the Sea Haven skyline, rapidly receding behind him. Doubts invade Truman's head, but he shuts them out and steers into the teeth of the storm, a look of resolve in his eyes we have never witnessed before. Interior control room night. Moses and Roman pace at the back of the control room. Christoph is forced on his monitor. Like Truman, he steels himself for a fight.
Cue music.
Simeon.
Cue music. Storm music.
What?
Wagner.
There's no rescue boat in the area. He won't know what to do.
For Christ's sake, for God's sake, Christ. The whole world is watching. We can't let him die in front of a live audience.
He was born in front of a live audience. Don't worry. He's not willing to risk his life. His doubts will turn him back.
Simeon reluctantly winds the controls for wave, wind, and rain towards their maximum setting.
Kill the lights.
Exterior harbor day. Darkness suddenly descends. High winds and horizontal driving rain buffet the boat. Truman fights the tiller. Hurricane force winds shake the mast and keel, ripping the sails to shreds. Suddenly, the mast of Truman's boat is struck by a bolt of lightning, snapping the rigging and knocking Truman overboard. Flailing in the tempest, Truman manages to grab hold of a trailing rope from the mast and hand over hand drags himself back on board. Truman takes the rope and lashes himself to the wheel. Monstrous waves continually submerge the boat. With what little is left of his rigging, Truman continues to head into the gale.
Come on, is that the best you can do? You're gonna have to kill me!
Interior control room night. In contrast to his panic-stricken colleagues, Christoph gives an outward appearance of calm. Only we witness the minute bead of sweat appearing at his temple that betrays him.
Is he out of his mind?
On behalf of the studio, I demand you cease this transmission.
Keep running.
That's not for you to say.
I take full responsibility.
I'm telling you for the last time.
How close is he?
Very close.
Capsize him. Tip him over.
For God's sake, Kristoff!
You can't. He's tied himself to the boat. He'll drown. Oh, he doesn't care.
Do it.
All eyes turn to Kristoff's direction. None of the operators is willing to touch the controls. Kristoff reaches to the panel and does it himself, turning the wave controls to their maximum settings. Exterior ocean day. A series of giant breakers march in formation across the sea, arising from an unseen source. Exterior ocean day. The waves break across Truman's vessel. Truman appears to be losing his fight against the storm, each successive wave taking its roll on his body, sapping his strength. His bindings, the only thing keeping him upright. His head slumps. The tiller goes loose in his grasp, rocking out of control. Truman's will is draining away. Interior control room night. The control room crew watch the heroic image of Truman on the on-air monitor, awestruck, as if they too are now spectators watching a movie. Exterior ocean day. As he is about to be overcome by the next wave, Truman clamps the wheel with his whole body and braces for one last wave. But the wave does not come. A strange phenomenon is occurring in the ocean. A distinct division has appeared in the ocean swell. Between the large rolling waves lies a corridor of calmer water, several hundred yards wide, a curious escape lane. The wind and the rain are also subsiding, the darkness lifting. A mist clings to the surface of the water. Truman steers his sailboat down the eerie corridor. Several large dark shapes emerge on the horizon. Land? Islands? The shapes containing some enormous mechanism, including a huge wheel, only half exposed above the water level, appear to be the source of the particular wave formations. Truman continues to steer his wrecked sailboat toward the infinitely receding horizon. All is calm until we see the bow of the boat suddenly strike a huge blue wall, knocking Truman off his feet. Truman recovers and clambers across the deck to the bow of the boat. Looming above him out of the sea is a cyclorama of colossal dimensions. The sky he has been sailing towards is nothing but a painted backdrop. Truman looks upward, straining his eyes to see the top of the sky, but it curves away at a steep angle beyond his sight. Clinging to the boat with one hand, he tentatively reaches out towards the painted cyclorama. He touches the sky. He looks about him and simply laughs. Interior control room night. Kristoff and his production staff take in Truman's reaction in stunned silence. Interior, exterior, bar room, laundromat, storefront, apartment, night. Truman's laugh echoes around bars, offices, shops, homes, and streets, wherever a television is to be found. No viewer speaks. They too are stunned into a hushed expectancy. The collective audience holds its breath. Exterior ocean cyclorama day. As the boat drifts alongside the seemingly never-ending curve of the cyclorama, Truman's attention is drawn to an outline in the otherwise flawless backdrop. He retrieves the identikit picture of Sylvia from his coat pocket and clambers to the prow of the boat. There, camouflaged in the painted skyscape, just above the waterline, is a door. Truman grabs hold of the recessed door handle and halts the drifting boat. He stands in front of the door and closes his eyes in a silent prayer. Interior control room night. The control room crew stare in silence at the monitor, their very livelihood on the brink of vanishing. Kristoff opens a small panel on his desk, breaks a seal, and speaks into the emergency PA system that is linked to the entire studio.
Truman.
Interior, exterior, ocean, cyclorama day. Kristoff's voice booms over the now calm ocean.
Truman.
Truman drops the handle as if his hand has been burned. He looks all about him.
You can speak. I can hear you.
Truman takes a moment to overcome his fear and astonishment.
Who are you?
I'm the creator.
Truman looks up to the heavens.
The creator of what?
A show that gives hope and joy and inspiration to millions.
A show? Then who am I?
You're the star.
Truman struggles to take it all in.
Nothing was real?
You were real. That's what made you so good to watch.
Truman takes out the drenched picture of Sylvia, recalling her words at the beach.
The eyes are everywhere.
Interior control room, up a slim, flat monitor. He swivels in his chair and gazes intently at the image of Truman he now holds in his hands.
Listen to me, Truman.
On the screen, Truman again reaches for the door handle. Exterior cyclorama day. We focus on Truman's hand. Christoph's voice echoes across the water.
You can't leave it if you want. You can leave it if you want. I won't try to stop you. But you won't survive out there. You don't know what to do, where to go.
A wave of doubt washes over Truman's face.
I have a map.
Truman, I've watched you your whole life. I saw you take your first step, your first word, your first kiss. I know you better than you know yourself. You're not going to walk out that door. You
never had a camera in my head.
Interior, exterior, various locations, night. The viewers stare into camera in fascination. Interior control room, night. Truman turns back to the sky, looking up towards Christoph.
Truman, there's no more truth out there than in the world I created for you. The same lies and deceit, but in my world, you have nothing to fear.
Truman seems to be considering the possibilities. He looks to the identikit picture of Sylvia in his hand.
Say something, damn it! You're still on camera, live to the world.
Interior, a room somewhere, night. Sylvia gazes at the picture of herself on her television screen as if it is her reflection in the mirror. Exterior, cyclorama day. Truman hesitates. Perhaps he cannot go through with it after all. The camera slowly zooms into Truman's face.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
He steps through the door and is gone. Silence. Then, interior, exterior, viewers' night. Spontaneous jubilation from viewers in their various locations. Bars, homes, and office. We follow the figure of Sylvia running through the streets. Some of the viewers outside an electronics store glimpse her as she runs by. Interior control room, night. Even the cynical Simeon jumps out of his seat. For the first time in the film, he lets out a joyous whoop, forgetting himself for a moment, caught up in the drama.
Yes! Yes!
Self-conscious, he takes his seat again almost immediately. His colleagues are transfixed by the live on-air monitor continuing to play its only available shot, the open door in the sky. Gradually, the attention of those in the control room shifts from the monitor to Christoph. He sits slumped, staring at the open door in the sky. Eventually, Moses looks to Simeon. Moses nods to the on-air button. Simeon presses the button, and the movie screen goes to static. Montage end titles. Highlights from Truman, total record of a human life begin to play. Fade out.
All right. Well, good job, everyone. That was a great script and a lot of action description to read.
That was a lot.
Oh, you know what this little montage thing makes me think of at the end? You know, when, like, right after Bob Saget died, they played, like, America's Funniest Home Video played, like, 13 hours of Bob Saget's episodes on YouTube. And I sat and watched, like, 8 of them.
Wow.
And it just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
I know it's a weird reminder, but that's what I thought.
Well, makes sense.
Because, I kind of grew up watching his America's Funniest Home Videos, and you had to be in that generation to understand.
Yeah, I think most of us are pretty close to there.
Yep.
Yep.
Maybe
Yeah. And you can watch it at different ages, but
Yeah, I know. I wasn't trying to bring attention to how old everybody else was, though.
well, now you did. I'm just kidding.
And now, thanks a lot.
We have a lot to talk about, more than age and different reminders of this movie, but we'll do that after everybody gets to elaborate on who they are and what they do.
Now that we're finished, if you don't mind, I'm just going to grab one of these.
It's pretty big.
Jacob,
Yeah.
you all earned it. So we have Christoph, Vicky Dykes. Tell us who you are, what you're doing, what you're up to, what's coming in the future.
Hello, I'm Vicky Dykes. I'm an actress, and if you want to contact me, you can find me on Facebook under the name Vicky Dykes. I'm also on Instagram. I'm YogaGramma7. I'm in the middle of planning and building a yoga show that will be filmed. I don't know when, but it'll be at some point in this month. And that's about it. I'm busy with Table Read Tuesdays. I love it, and I hope you enjoyed the show.
Yeah, we love it. Don.
Don Lampasone. I have a production company in Maryland. I do some acting here and there. In a show now, Music Man, playing Charlie Cowell and yeoman townsperson. So Charlie's only in like 3 or 4 scenes. He's kind of the bad guy, I guess you could say, if you know that show. It's a fun part. But then I get to play it's fun to play the townspeople too.
Nice.
So,
will it ever be recorded or anywhere online or just live?
They probably will record it illegally. Especially since Music Man's on Broadway right now. Yeah, they probably will. But yeah, sometimes I'll cut out the parts that I did and put them on my acting page, from past experience.
And where is that acting page if anybody wants to go and find it?
Actually it's not, you'd have to go to my website and then find it on there. It's not very easy to find because it's like on it's like one of them long backstage, URLs that I never can remember. But my name is pretty easy to remember. So it's donlampasone.com, and then you can find it in there when you say about me.
Okay, about me on your
website. The mix of their stuff. Yeah.
Sweet.
Thanks.
And now, PorcupineProductions.ca, Jason Steele.
Transformer.
Transformer. Yeah. Quick changes in a couple of spots there. Had to figure out what kind of a costume can I do that I can change one line after the other. I don't know how successful it was, but it was fun. Yeah, and there, put my website on there, porcupineproductions.ca or porcupinefilmproductions.com, either one. And you can find a lot of my stuff on there. And I don't have much else to say. Carry on.
Carry on. Then we shall. Angelina Peterson.
Oh, hello. It's me. You can find me on Facebook. My business is Your Adored Life, so it's easiest to find me there. And it's a custom family documentary company, changing lives and helping with legacy. I'm not working on anything other than that right now.
All right. I mean, that's plenty.
Oh, and Table Read Tuesday, of course. I do that.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Casting, editing, reading, acting.
Stuff like that.
Hosting, so much that we all are appreciative of. So thank you.
Thanks.
And Arend.
Hello. I'm not doing anything major at the moment. I'm working on another Let's Play. And as I said before, in the previous week, I'm an aspiring voice actor and video editor.
Yes.
You can find me on Facebook as Arend Williamson. That's would be spelled with ARY. Or you can find my YouTube page, Pyraga Flare, if you're interested in that sort of stuff.
Which I think we also have his YouTube link page on the front of our YouTube channel, as well as many of the other performers here. So, and Clint
Thank you.
Monroe. Yes. So,
Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name's Clint Monroe. You can find me at Gems of Zen Productions on Instagram. So I spent the weekend in this exact same chair editing a book, so that's hence why I'm so pale. I haven't really left the house. It's been 12-hour days of editing and rewriting. It's actually the first time I've ever gotten to a first draft on anything I've ever done in my life. That includes my senior thesis in college. My professor, after I graduated, told me I was the greatest rough draft writer he's ever seen, So I'm trying to flip that script and see how much I can add. And studying something like this just shows how far you can go when you start rewriting, because he just places so many things in there. It's amazing. But I'm actually working on another thing like Vicky Dykes. I'm actually going to be a yoga grandma. So no, I'm just kidding. But just hanging out and loving life and trying to get as many things done. And I do want to do a special shout out to Angel for her Your Adored Life. Some things are happening in my life that make life just feel a little bit more fragile than it has been. And I did see a friend of mine not use Angel service, but kind of did it themselves. But to have somebody that's professionally done do it, but just having that gift, a video can live on forever. And so, yeah, definitely what she's doing is beautiful. And you can pass it down, because life is fickle sometimes. And, it's never too early to start your legacy, So anyways, that's kind of what's going on with me. So I will pass it on to the next person, which I believe is Heather.
yes, it is.
Thank you first. Thank you.
And congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Heather Leigh Cameron. I'm an actress, I'm a writer, and I'm a creator. Nothing going on in the actors world. The play isn't yet released to public that I was recently in. I'm currently looking for representation and work in the acting field, but I recently released a new written work titled Tolerance is Not Love through a website called Trek Spirit just this weekend, and I am more than happy to share that with y'all. Just DM me after. My links are Heather Leigh Freelancer on Facebook and The Storm and Latter-day Saint on YouTube, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can DM me for those links if you want them. There's a lot of them. And I'm also on the actors sites. I've got reels, video, and voice. And I have a beautiful little Blue Yeti mic I can record from home.
Very
I
nice.
think it's adorable.
And you're nothing happening except for taking on like 11 characters every week or so.
Well, it's definitely worth it because it allows me to practice my acting, and I'm definitely willing to work very hard. And I'm grateful for the challenges Jacob and Angelina give me, because it helps me prove to myself that I'm capable of being more than I actually see in myself.
Yes, that's so important.
Here.
Really glad.
And what would I honestly do without all of you in my life? And don't you dare dispute that, or else I'm going to haunt you in your dreams.
No disputing. Nope.
I love you all.
All right. Well, that is our great cast of this amazing script. So if anybody has to take off and get some rest, thank you so much. And now we will talk about the script and things we learned from it. I'll start real quick by saying it's quite different than the movie. So I don't know what earlier draft this was, like how many revisions before the final movie. And when those changes happen. But that's one thing I love about the Table Read Tuesdays is to look at the script. Sometimes it's the final draft, sometimes the shooting draft, and some are very close in how different some of them are. So that's all I have to say to start. Who's next?
Can you give some of the examples of the things that you've seen? Hold that thought.
Well, I mean, we can. Some of the some is maybe just editing as well. Like the movie starts off with them interviewing the actors, like as actors that are in the show, and them talking about it, and then it gets on to like Truman in the mirror, like it kind of does at the beginning of the script here. But of course, with Jim Carrey, they probably like improv'd a lot of that. So it's like so much more entertaining what's in the movie than actually was written. And then when watching it, I was super impressed, and it's in the script too, of like how quick they get into the movie. Like if I wrote that or someone else did, you might have wrote like, let's show him in this everyday life. Let's show his day in life. He walks outside and boom, a light drops right in front of him. Like they're in it immediately. So
You know what your energy is reminding me of right now? Your sudden boom energy. Like when he suddenly puts the mask, when he suddenly puts on the mask and suddenly just goes wild, you suddenly have the mask energy, and I freaking love it.
thank you. But yeah, so those are some of the differences, and you notice there's just little differences all throughout the whole script, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff in there that's still in the movie. It's just restructured. Like the whole beach scene with the dad comes later. The death of the father comes earlier. And then, yeah, I mean, there's like a couple other things that they kept out, but it's pretty tight, man. But yeah, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 pages of notes off of that one. I got tired and hit that first wave like before the before the intermission. I was like, I don't even know if I can process any more information. I mean, yeah, there's so many things. I love how in the script, especially, I mean, if you're trying to write something that's going to get sold, like building this mystery that doesn't really get answered until page 70. Right? Like page 70 is finally when you get pulled out and Christoph during the interview is explaining what's going on. But then there's so many little things. And I mean, even if you look at it, I don't know if I penciled it all down, but I mean, there's like, I would say 30 to 40 examples of this world and how it's starting to unfold and how he's starting to see these little occurrences that aren't really working. I mean, it's like bam, 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 you know, just the attention to detail, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. There's other scenes that like weren't in the movie, like when they had that round table discussion with all the actors about one leaving, a new one coming, and what they're going to discuss next. Like that's not in the movie. I can't recall them right now, but there was a bunch I remember seeing while we were reading. Like, oh, that's different. You know what I mean? So
You need to do like Clinton, make notes as
Take
we
the
go.
notes.
I don't know how you do that. You do this and make your notes.
I'll show you how I do it here. Let me hold up the notes really quick. Basically, they are completely indecipherable other than to myself. I just, you know.
You have endless energy. Can I have some?
I drink coffee beforehand, and like I was telling Angel, you know, I just got hit with the coffee, like right as we were finishing up the last scene, and right as we're wrapping up scene 2, ending act 3. I'm sorry, ending act 2, going into act 3 with the resolve, and it's like boom, oh, there's coffee. Oh God. So
You turn
High
into
five,
Kramer.
Clint.
you know, never when you need it.
High five, Clint. It's coffee for the win.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's awesome that you guys actually wrote that into the script. There was a scene where Jason and I were sipping coffee together, so it totally worked. That was my one costume change.
coffee brought to you from I can't even do it. Dang it.
I have to call him out on that, by the way. The costume change. That one costume change was very Dumbledore-like.
Oh, it was great.
You're commenting on the the homeless guy, the derelict character.
Yes.
I don't know,
If we
man.
ever do a Harry Potter script, there's our Dumbledore.
Yeah, right there. Eh?
I'll cover
Yes.
Snape.
Harry.
Oh no, Snape is mine.
And I'll be
Severus Snape
Voldemort.
is mine because he's my favorite character.
Fine, I'll be Voldemort. I actually have his wand, so
Oh well.
He didn't miss it.
no, I
He's dead.
kind of just took it from him. I'm kidding.
It's funny when the first time that I was an extra on a set, I was like walking through. It was this scene where we were supposed to be New York pedestrians, and I'm like walking around, and there's a bunch of other pedestrians, and I look over, and I'm like, dude, is that Rupert Grint? Is he doing extra work? And this guy was the spitting image of Rupert Grint. And so I started talking to him, and he's like, yeah, dude, I get it all the time. And you're like, yeah, but I mean, like, dude, like you got a full-time career just being him. You know what I mean? The guy's awesome. He's hoping to work on a sequel to Forrest Gump, which I hope comes out. You know, he's been working on it for years, and I totally support him in that. You know, that'd be awesome. That was such an amazing movie.
Working on it in which way?
Writing.
Writing a sequel.
There's a
Forrest
book
Gump.
already that serves as a sequel though.
I was actually thinking about how funny it would be to do a sequel of this when he goes out into the real world and then just gets super jaded by how terrible it is. You know?
Angelina and I have discussed that some.
Yeah.
But I have
How
some.
people are just not friendly, and like when he gets into traffic, how they really do kind of cut him off. He's like, "What's going on?" You know.
They'd have to
Jacob has
recast
it all figured out. It's the whole movie is right there in his head.
Yeah.
They'd have to
If you
recast
film
it
it, hire me. I'd work for you.
Yeah.
as Jim Carrey quit.
Do you think he really? I mean, I know
Fortunately.
he feels that way, but do you think he'll be back?
Oh, I think he'll be back.
I
Like
think
he
so.
said,
He's
if
gonna take a break for
right
10 years or
role-
something, and then he'll be back.
I get it though. Like for plays, I've done so much work on stage, and you get to a point where you're like, if it doesn't really grab me, and I don't love the cast or director, it takes so much time. I've got other things that I can do. So yeah, I not that I've even close to the caliber of him, but I get it. It's something that was a passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got hundreds of millions of dollars, so
Yeah, I don't.
that helps.
It's also awesome to see somebody with such a genuine good heart make it, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
he's definitely a wise old soul, and he's been that way for forever, you know. And to see somebody like that make it, you know, because I mean, we all know Hollywood. There's definitely been a lot of the scandals and, you know, the exploitation involved in that whole industry, you know. But to see somebody who actually makes it, that has a genuinely good heart, you know, that's super cool. Matthew Reese, by the way, I met him kind of in passing. He's actually super cool too, which is nice.
I hope he finishes Sonic 3 before he retires.
There was one part in the script. I hope I can find it. Maybe I shouldn't talk. I'll find it.
Well, you can go ahead and mention it. We'll see if we can help you. Or
Yeah.
Okay, there was a part in the script. Oh, it was the interview that I just thought was really like a totally, not totally, but sort of a fourth wall feel to it, which I guess this has a lot of throughout. But it wasn't out of place, but it was. But I really liked it. I really enjoyed that part.
well, like, and they do still have that in the movie, but it's much shorter.
Yeah.
That's a really long interview. I was noticing how long that section was, and it felt a little long. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Sorry.
Not because of you, but that's the guy. Like a note for writers. Is
several
like,
pages.
yeah,
It's
It-
possible they shot it and they edited it out.
Yeah.
yeah, and stuff. Like, and another thing I thought was interesting about how it is in the movie and how it's on the page, like, they have the Sylvia girl, she calls in or whatever. Like, and in the movie, they make it clear that they know it's her and they're talking directly to her. In here, it's like she veils her voice and not too well, but they never address it. But even in the movie, it finishes with her scene. Like she's the last one before they end the interview. And I
Yeah.
feel like in real life, they probably wouldn't do that. They would want to have another happier thought or this or that. And in the script, they do have like one more, interview or something else continues a little bit afterwards. But again, screenwriting stuff, get in early, get out late. Opposite, get out in late, get out early. They did that. Like this is the most dramatic thing. All right, let's do that. If the other stuff isn't, dramatic or storytelling and moving along, then we cut it out.
Mhm.
Do you think that it's intentional that the image behind you, Jacob, that it almost looks like the wing of a plane if you're actually sitting there, if you're in the way, when you're in the way, it almost looks like the
does.
wing of a plane and then it's in the sky. No, just move right. Yeah, perfect there. It's
I don't think that's intentional because,
but
like you said, I have to be in this spot for it.
true.
They knew I was going to be here. Where are the cameras?
Yeah. You thought it was just Truman.
It's right here.
And just a little side note for those of you guys that are watching, Penn's Pavel right here, so crisp and refreshing. we're trying to do some product placement here on Table Read Tuesdays too,
Oh, we should do that.
right?
Over shirts or something.
No, when I was watching, it's super funny how so this is the beer that he always that Marlon always brings over, and then when they cut to the bar scene, there's like a tap where they're serving this beer to people in the real world. And then also what I was reading, which I think is super, super awesome, is that this beer shows up in that 70s show and a couple other things too, because this movie was so influential. So I've decided that anytime anybody drinks beer on my movies, they're drinking this Penn's Pavel.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Neat.
Do you guys have a favorite scene in the movie or a favorite scene in the script?
I have a favorite line.
Say it.
Mentioned it in the chat.
There was never you never had a camera in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be dark. You guys don't want to see that, man.
They're working on it.
Serious, dude.
They do. People would pay to see that, Clint. An audience for everything.
For sure, dude. If you put me in the Truman Show, if it was the Clint Show, man, it'd be a wild ride, a hurricane.
But my favorite shot in the movie, it's random, but it's the guy in the bathtub holding onto the thing, I just love it. I know it's not like the most important one in the whole thing, but it's so memorable to me.
I like the bit where Marlon actually shows a sense of loyalty by noticing that Truman's there, but he just pretends he didn't see him and carries on with the crowd.
And have you seen the movie?
No, I never have. Actually, this script was the first time I heard of it.
Okay, I was going to say, that whole, not most of that sequence, but that's not in the movie. That's a change too. Truman never dresses up like that and is along with everybody else and just going on and watching things and seeing how things are going. None of that's in the movie. Yeah. They have all the extras out looking for him, but yeah. So the part that you love, him, his best friend, actually being a real friend and not giving him away and going on, isn't in the movie.
Yeah.
For the first time, he even talks, well, what do we do when Truman dies? It's nothing to him.
Yeah. But that's not in the movie either, that line.
Yeah.
That was in the script tonight.
I think it was a good line. I don't know.
Oh, no, it's a good line. It shows how they view, you know what I mean? This is a job. What's going to happen? He's just he's not connected to the person.
Commodity. He's not a person. Ugh. Yuck.
Yeah. So I there was two things to me that were really super interesting. The first thing that I really, really liked was before the basement scene, because the basement scene is where you're going to set up the entire mystery for then the climax and the end of Act 2, right? And right before then, there's a whole conversation with Christoph he did the whole astronaut thing, right? He kind of seems like he's back in it. He goes back to work, right? Like he's probably accepted his reality now, right? Like it's just weird and whatever. And then Christoph continues to resume his work. That's when they do that's where they bring the actors in, and they're like, all right, well, we're just getting back to work. We're going to introduce a new character. And so they do that. And then leading into the basement scene where it's like, what's going on? This is a mystery, right? And then they add all of these little tiny things to like, maybe he's not there. What's going on? Oh my God. Oh my gosh. And then boom, it explodes. Total mystery. Where is he? Oh, he's sailing out into the ocean. He's overcome his fears. I loved how they dropped him finding the boat and just being in the boat, because then I think it makes it more explosive.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
then the second thing is just like how much control and understanding the author has, or the writer has, of like what this would actually really play out like in real life, and how people interact with it, right? Like this girl who's the lead role they're talking about her getting pregnant, and like, is an actress really going to get pregnant with this guy for a show? And what's that really going to look like? I mean, there's so many different things that they put in there about like just the inner conflicts that these people are having as they act it out as well. Or the fact that, the bus driver or the ferry guy is like, dude, I'm just an actor, man. I don't know how to drive a ferry. I just put on these clothes, and then, the whole conflict between what's up?
I was going to add to that point, which I liked how they did in the movie, but also in the script. Like in the script, Truman purposefully burns himself to test Meryl. Like, you're a nurse. What do I do? You know what I mean? And she doesn't know what to do. Like, that moment's not in the script. They like have the similar where he goes to the hospital and stuff, but not that moment. Right. All right. You were saying? Go ahead, Angel.
Were you done, Clint?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. With that point, and what I brought up earlier with his best friend, who's just basically like, well, what do we do when he dies? There might be that could be very psychological, that it's like, that's, this, hopefully I'm using the term correctly, cognitive dissonance, where if you're in that and it's wrong and you see it's wrong, eventually you're going to either quit or you're going to make it make sense in your head. Like, you know what? It's just a job. This isn't, so he would become less important. Or if he was as important as maybe he should be as a human being, they probably, none of them could stick around.
Yeah.
And that was an impactful moment for me with the script that's not in the movie, is when they were talking about the future plans. Like in the movie and in script, they both talk about like, I want the on-air conception or whatever. But the fact that they're like, we're going to, once they have a kid, then we're going to have 2 separate channels, and we're going to just continue milking this. And now we did it all to this one person their whole life, and now we're going to do it to their child unknowingly. And it was funny in the script that they said like, oh, it was only supposed to be 1 year. That's what was their plan was. And then they just kept going and going.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's pretty true to life too,
It's bringing in
the
amount of a small country. So 2 small countries, great, or a big one.
It's also crazy too that like when this movie came out, I mean, reality shows were just kicking off. Like Big Brother had like just started, right? And American audiences hadn't even really seen reality shows. They were starting to bring it in, and that's just visionary, because if you think about it, right? If this movie came out 1 year before reality shows started taking off, that means that this guy who wrote the script had to have envisioned this idea at least 5 years before, to then write it, to then put it in pre-production and then into production and then into post-production before it was released 1 year before.
Yeah.
It's just visionary.
Yeah. So it shows that this came out in 98, and there's the Real World that I think was on MTV, like one of their first reality shows, like in '92. There's also a movie that reminds me of this, and I was thinking both of them at the same time. A TV show I think called Ed TV. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Yeah. Those, back in the day, they still
Yeah.
do it. Huh?
I think they came out close to each other though, didn't they? Ed TV
Yeah.
and Truman Show. I feel like they were one of those kind of. It was almost like two
Similar.
people had the same idea around the same time. I don't know.
And
Yeah, that's exactly what
like,
happened. It's the same thing as like, what was it, Deep Impact and Armageddon?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Those two movies came out together.
it looks like Ed TV came
I
out
think-
in '99.
I think Big Brother's been the most successful out of them all. It's still going.
Yeah.
And but even the first one wasn't overly successful. I think just one contestant from the first season has made recurring appearances.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm a reality TV geek, by the way, this I know.
Oh, it's a movie, not a TV show. The Ed TV. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of those dual pairs, but I don't think that that one didn't have I guess the lasting impact, It was kind of funny, a guy on TV. This is kind of like deep, like controlling your life, and then the fact that everybody has lied to him about his father dying, all of the gaslighting that exists to keep him in this world,
Oh, the whole. Yeah.
And Ed TV seems more about like maybe what it would be like in the everyday life of it, and he knows that it's happening or signs up for it in the drama. Where this one, they have a lot of, not the right word, allegory, but like God type complexes and all this other stuff they're putting into it, and like they're very blatant about it. You know what I mean? I am Christoph. I am the creator. You know what I mean? They're and like, yeah. So sometimes it seems like stories
You know
like that resonate the test of time. But go ahead, Heather.
It reminds me, I don't know how many of you are actually Canadian. Have any of you ever heard of that show Reboot?
Yes.
The animated one.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that, where they drop the games and build the worlds and have and run the internet and computer. Doesn't it remind you of that almost?
I can see why you're thinking of it. Yeah, I remember loving that. Like me going into 3D animation is like that was like one of the first like 3D animated shows, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing!" At the time.
I think it was the first fully 3D animated show.
It may be. I just wasn't sure, so I didn't want to say definitively.
All good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole thing, like one of the things that was my favorite about this whole script is you get this kind of fun, kind of a bit of an honest behind the scenes look at the behind the scenes of production. So you get these actors like the boy on the bridge who's been hit by a car, and once Truman's gone by, he sits up, or the guy who's the surgeon, and he's like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna do some
I love that surgeon part. It just makes me laugh.
Yeah, and it's funny in the movie too the way they do that. But a couple more differences, like you pointed out, like the kid that needs the help, that's not in the movie, and it's a little different. Like in the movie, they're like you're using it as an obstacle reason for them to stop. Is like, we need any nurses here? We need a nurse, and she's like, I gotta go help. Where in the movie, they have that same like thing, and he says to her like, maybe they need nurses, maybe you need to go help, but she's like, no, or whatever. And what was the other one you guys brought up? Oh no, you guys didn't bring up. There's another thing that I could see why they cut it out of the script for the movie, but one of the first scenes where the two guys are taking the girl into the forest, and Truman's doing nothing. Whoa. Yeah, like that's not in the movie either, but I was like, whoa.
Super intense. I think it did a good job of kind of illustrating that, because like I think that played off of the whole conversation with Tyrone and the sandwich, what I don't think is really in the movie as well. But it's like the guy who is just stuck in a routine, and so you're like adding all these different things of like fear, and he's stuck in this routine, and then finally with all these weird circumstances, he's got to go find out what's going on,
My guess is one of the reasons they showed it is because they made a point of like saying he's confrontational. Like he does not do physical stuff. Like that makes him sick, or he doesn't do physical stuff. And they made that very clear to show his arc, because by the end, like he's running through, pushing people. He's holding his wife with the little splicer thing. You know what I mean? He's changing it from the things. Yeah. So.
Definitely. Also, the whole scene about the Fiji with the fire dancers and everything.
Yeah, that was kind of awesome. But
It was. You know,
sorry, Aaron, if we're ruining the movie from you compared to the script. Like, you should watch the movie. But all these,
It's all good.
like, I loved reading that, because it's like, this is awesome behind the scenes stuff. Like, this is additional scenes that they wrote or thought of that's not in the movie. And like, because even the movie, they do hint at a lot of things that are no longer in there. And like, one's like, where she's like, yeah, you want to go here? Let's take a few months. Let's plan it. Or we can do this in a month and we can do it. And so in the script, like, they're like, do you want to do a cruise or something? But they show like, yes, if they were going to do that, like in the script, they would take the time, they'd build it, they'd plan everything, they'd trim it, train people, it'd be really close and stuff. And so I thought that was all cool. But
Yeah.
not that I necessarily think it should be in the movie. It seems to work great without it. But it was really cool from a behind the scenes reading and writing and movie making process thing. So
I would like to be there.
Again, screenwriters, if you guys are writing, they like show how, like right now we see how different the draft is of this version, wherever it is, compared to the final movie. Like, scenes are completely cut out and things have changed. So like, if you're gonna edit your film, be okay with that.
Oh, you know what I thought was super interesting? I forgot about this. One of my first pages of notes. But it was amazing how it starts with like so he goes to the vendor, right? And he rips out the magazine and he's like looking at a picture of an eye, and you're like, that's super weird. There's no backstory. There's no context. There's no anything behind that, right? And then later when Lawrence comes in and tells him to go on the ferry, he picks up the phone and he starts talking about Fiji. And there's no reason for it. There's no nothing. There hasn't been any setup there. And that comes back later. So he's like setting up all these developments later. That was genius.
That was before they had the Sylvia or whatever's father came. That was before. Oh,
yeah. There's a lot of things that they set up that they're like, yeah, they're already showing him going through these things, and they're not telling the audience everything. They're not laying it all out in order for them. It's like they like put that there, and then they fill in the blanks later of like what that was all about.
Yeah, beautifully written.
Even some stuff with the dog, and which is more subtle than that. Like that's also in the movies. Like in the movie, the neighbor has a dog, and he's totally afraid of the dog. And then I think both in the movie, it's just a shot, and they have it in the script, is where they try to stop him from going over the bridge by having a mean dog there. Rah, rah, rah. So they first try to make him scared of dogs, so he wouldn't go certain places.
I thought that was super funny. I mean, it's just awful to like sick a dog consciously on a young boy. I mean, that's just awful, you know. But like all the things that they did to set it up to keep him in this world, and like I think that's very interesting too. Like how they went about trying to convince him that it was better. I mean, and when they do that, there's so many angles that they hit him with. You know, I mean, the attention to detail this writer has, it's crazy because it's on street signs. It's every person and how they do it. It's his mom saying, why don't you get, you know, why don't we have a grandkid, right? It's the father coming back and like, oh my gosh, we got to catch up on 20 years of lost time. You know, maybe I'll stick around for that. It's, you know, going to the travel agent and seeing like, oh my gosh, don't travel here. Even it was written in the script, every picture of the world looks exactly like Sea Haven, right? So you've already got everything that you needed here, you know. It's crazy, you know.
And I think like different scripts require a different amount of that. Like this one, where they're having the behind the scenes and trapping somebody and tricking them, all this stuff requires more than most movies. But I also think that amount of details and all those little things is the difference between someone saying like, oh yeah, I do have this whole idea for a movie in my head, and then what it actually takes when you go and write it. Because when you think, oh, I have this idea, you have these broad strokes, but then when you write, you got to make all those decisions. You got to think about all those things and include all those things.
Yeah, no, this reminds me of like one of those crazy detective movies, like Seven or something like that, when they've got the whole board set up in the background with like the notes that are tied together with string, and he's like explaining this whole plot. Like, that's how you write something like this, man. Nobody can keep that in their brain, dude. Not my brain, dude. It would dribble out my nose.
Other people's thoughts? Don, Heather, Jason, Aaron?
I just think everybody did a really good job tonight, and we should all be proud of ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, agreed.
The stuff you're saying, Jacob, about the writing part, I find I do a lot of like short form, and a lot of times I won't get a left side, which means I won't get any visuals. And so it's really difficult sometimes to make something because it doesn't have the visual. So it's like if there was no action description every time you make a spot, there's no action description. And so I find that I've become good at creating that from nothing when I get a script like that. But at the same time, when I do get that left side, I'm so happy. And it's so good because I know at least it might not be exactly what I do, but at least I have an idea of what they wanted.
Yeah.
That idea. And that's why all that action description is so important in the film, because it's like it gives you a starting point of what they want or what they were thinking. And that's what happened, I think, with this movie when they had Jim Carrey come on. He's so good at improv that they probably got on set, and I would bet, and I have no idea, I'm just making a bet here. I would bet that they got on set and that it all changed after they started filming it, because he's so crazy and good. I mean, in a good way. Like I think they wanted Robin Williams, I thought I heard, for the part originally, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so I think they got Jim Carrey. I don't know why they got him instead, because they're both great.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Robin Williams doing it now, but
I never heard that before, but once you mentioned it, my brain did totally see him there. I'm like,
totally see it.
He would have been great. Like that would have also been amazing. Yeah.
He would have been great. But yeah, it's so important to have that at least starting point with the description of what's on the screen,
Yeah. I found the description in this was so interesting too. Whereas so many scripts, it's like you're just kind of going through the motions to read the action description lines, and it's just like when I do a table read, if I'm reading those parts, typically I'll rattle through it pretty quick as the reader, because it's like, okay, that's not what we're here for. That just gives us something real quick. So it'll be a darkly lit room. We see Sylvia, she's on like a confrontational with a collar, phone still in her hand. I just ripped through it. But here, I was actually enthralled with the pages of action and description, right? Because it's so descriptive and so visual. I'm just watching this movie in my head as we're reading it. Way more interesting. So I don't know what's different about how this one was written in those parts than others, but this I enjoyed watching this movie in my head as we went through those lines.
I mean, I think that was it was visual writing as opposed to non-visual writing, which you will tell the difference, when you see it.
I think that's a really good point, Don, and glad you brought it up, Jason. Like that's going to make the difference on like people loving the action description, or when they read the script, is just like, is it the visual writing? Do they see the movie when they do that? Or is it just like going through the motions or whatever? I've definitely, on doing these table reads, I remember a different script. I don't even know which one, but I was just so, like you said, Jason, I was like watching the movie in my head. I was going, like I missed my part when it came up, because I was like, oh man, I forgot I was even reading, because I was just watching this movie from the other stuff.
Yeah, just like great point, Jason. It's very much like reads like Chinatown, right? where, I mean, they was so, it's just written almost like a book, just in a script format, you know? So you can follow along really easy. It's not technical. It's very readable, you know?
And
I'm getting tired, so I'm going to bid you all good night. Thank you.
yeah, I know you've done a lot recently, Heather. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Here,
Good night.
Heather.
Good night.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you. Good night.
Good night.
And Don, you said don't normally have the left side. So I know we have these screenplay formats. I know for advertising, lots of times they'll have,
Sorry, I should explain that left
no,
side.
but
right
it's
side.
good to, it's
Yeah.
awesome that now this comes up.
Different
Just there's
format.
different types of formats.
Yeah, yeah.
So you should probably explain it better than I can.
Well, it's pretty simple. On the right side, you have like the audio, and usually it's voiceover. And then on the, I said left side. Yeah. On the right side, you have the visual, what you want to see. So it lines up side by side. Because it's only like a 30 or a 60, it's easy to line that up. And a lot of times they'll have it's simple, just, you know, spreadsheet type thing, box that, you know, lines it up. I mean, that's it. And I usually get a script, and the left side, which is the visual part, is not there, but the audio, the voiceover is there. And you're like, well, what do you want to see?
Yeah. And the ones I've usually seen like that, I haven't seen as many as you, but like it has actually a storyboard frame. It has that, and it has like the dialogue or whatever, and it has that as they go down together.
Pretty much that's, yeah,
The scripts.
storyboard frame. Yeah,
Yeah.
is a good way to describe it. Yeah, without any storyboard in it.
Mhm.
Like,
So it's
nothing
interesting.
unusual. Oh yeah, no, every day.
Yeah, like I've done a lot of previs where we do like the quickly make the movie in 3D before they actually make the movie. And to do that, like everyone's different. Like certain people, they want the storyboard, and they're like, I want to see this, and then you just match that. But for me, I'm like, I want them to give me just the screenplay pages. So I'm like, I want to make it up as I go.
Well, yeah, but you're making this. You're doing the previs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
So, but I mean, there's other previous artists that don't want the they want like show me
know
more,
exactly.
tell me what you want, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I'd rather pick the camera, what's visible here or not, than in there.
That makes sense. I mean, I feel like that sometimes when they do fill in the left side,
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, this is not good. No, don't fill it out anymore.
Yeah.
Now I see why you're not filling it out.
Hey,
There's definitely visual people and non-visual people, I would say.
quick side note, I just heard that my buddy Alex is watching and just commented in the live chat. Thank you so much for showing your support, Alex. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to see what you do on all your projects, man. You're awesome, and I really, really miss you. We had a lot of good times. He's a really good friend of mine. So thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it. I think we all do. So I just wanted to put that out there, and yeah.
Hi, Alex. Welcome. Give him another shout out. Like, does he have a link?
Yeah, so he is
What do we
on
find him? What's he doing?
YouTube under Present Moment Photographs. He's based out in Prescott. He's just started getting into drone shots, and I believe he's starting to get into more cinematography stuff, which is awesome. But man, he I think when he started doing photography, it was within, I would say, maybe a couple weeks before he was putting out some really serious quality images. And I've just watched him grow over the last couple of years, and he's just really expanded. Now he just travels all over the Southwest taking photographs, and he's just exploded. And it's so awesome to see somebody who finally finds their niche and then just explodes, you know. So I'm really, really happy to see that. I'm really proud of him.
Yeah,
See,
that's
it's worth watching us and messaging. Free
Throwing
advertising.
that back in there, you know. Yeah, definitely.
Also, Carlos T says, thanks for having me, and this was awesome. That was
Awesome.
from earlier.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining again. Thanks to all my friends. for coming up, stepping up to the plate and coming subscribing. I promise you it will pay dividends to you. Today, honestly, I haven't even said it yet, but this was the first day where I kind of like sat back. It's kind of hard to describe, but I've read so many scripts now with you guys. This was the first time that I was able to sit back and like view it as almost like a symphony of emotions, less than little minute mundane details, like seeing how it goes, the whole thing and how it's set up, which is awesome because I never really have read a script like that. I read and I'm into details and other things, but I was able to get so much of the little stuff done and automated now that I could sit back and look at the big picture. And so if you guys stick around at Table Read Tuesdays and you study and you study and you study, you'll start seeing it like that. And then that's when the magic happens. I hope. I mean, we'll see what happens next
That's
day.
what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
Magic.
It's been great. And then this dude right here has been wanting to say hi.
Puppy.
You're patiently waiting for everybody.
He just wanted kisses.
He starts growling when he doesn't get kisses.
Aw.
Mhm.
I get you, buddy.
We're gonna have to do a separate video just showing the demo reels of the different actors and you guys' production companies and stuff. Just,
Yeah.
Fun.
yeah, that would be cool to
Hmm.
do your thing like that.
Angel, I've got some more work for you. Here.
Yeah, no, Don's got one of, I think it was like right when COVID happened, right? And it's like all your kids in the house during COVID.
Oh my! So I did for one of the birthday parties for my kid. We did a mockumentary,
Yeah.
and it those projects always take a while to edit because you have like, if you're doing it all day long, you're like, okay, now I have the kids project to figure out.
Yeah, right.
Editing.
Yeah. So my kids now can edit though. So I don't have to do that anymore. So that's good.
Wow.
My son is doing a lot of editing. My daughter and all of them, actually, my two sons.
Which brings up an interesting point. If you are trying to make a movie like this, but you want to keep it in-house, just remember you're going to have to pop out like 200 to 300 kids. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Background, you got editors, VFX.
Not for an indie.
I put
You
a
only need
nice little
about
production
10.
together if they'd actually get into what I am into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking indie, like, could someone make a movie like this on an indie level, like where it's a single house? Like, it's not a whole world, or, you know what I mean? Like, you limit your...
Well, now they
how
probably
you do
can,
it.
but not then.
Oh, yeah, not then, yeah.
Now they probably can, because if you knew what your kind of work, if you could do that, I mean, you could do it all yourself if you have time. It's time that it's just too difficult to, unless you're wealthy and you have all the time in the world.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just picked up this book by
Anyone
Robert
wants to
Rodriguez.
sponsor us?
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I just picked up this book by Robert Rodriguez, and it's about the making of mariachi and like how he did that. I mean, that was the movie that launched his career, make a feature-length film, and he did it on $7,000, which is insane.
Yeah. Especially then, with how much, because he had to do film, right? That was a long time ago. He was like one of the first to do that.
Yeah.
He went to UT, I think, and he I don't remember if it was a student thing or something. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I question some of those small budgets. They say they only spent $7,000, but then they had access to something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would have cost them. So
volunteering.
that's why I don't like, I don't know about that one, but I've heard a lot of, like, when you talk about it, like it cost me $1,000 to make a pilot sitcom that I made for my master's. But it wasn't really, that was just the food, but I had access to the same cameras they used to shoot Star Wars at the time. And so I'm like, I would have had to have paid, a lot of money for the camera.
Yeah.
use.
So there's
You know?
your cost and what the real cost of everything you used
Yeah.
would actually be.
And if I would have paid people,
Uh-huh.
and then you got that, so if you look at, so yes, people were nice and they helped. So that's probably what happened with him is he had a lot of access, and the $7,000 was probably what he paid for food. It's probably what it was. I bet in film,
just like oodles and
developing
caboodles of hot dogs, right?
Yeah.
Just like hot dogs and oatmeal.
Usually
Yeah.
pizza.
Once you start paying people, boy, it goes in a hurry. Like
Oh,
money.
yeah.
Oh,
It does.
that's why a small budget, you do still need volunteers and stuff. Like it goes like that. It's gone.
Yeah.
Well, just remember, guys, as for any aspiring young filmmaker out there, just targeted advertising.
And find a group of people who are passionate like you, who maybe you can help each other out with your projects. So
Definitely.
right,
Well,
Jason?
what I've been surprised about is the actors. I mean, we're always willing to do these things because we love it. And you get like a script that's good or something or funny, and you don't get that. And I think that's one thing that you'll find everywhere. And like the reason we're doing this is not obvious, it's not for money, because we like it,
Fun.
Yeah.
And
so I think the same thing happens with films is people are like, they just want, and then you'll get the same thing in production. You'll get people that don't know it really well and they want experience. But it's easier to get that experience nowadays than it was when I was first starting out.
Definitely. And every other side wants the other side. Like there's an actor that's like, I need somebody that has a script or that has a camera that wants to film me. I need those people to do that. And then there's other people that write scripts and they're like, I need actors. And I need the cameraman and stuff. So yeah, like Clint was heading to, and everybody's like, I don't know. It goes down to the networking. It's like finding the other people. They're at the same level as you and also have that passion and hunger and work together and grow together. And
yeah, there's so many stories out there, man. I want to see like a massive resurgence of Native American writers. There's such a rich heritage. I mean, that's something that comes close to my heart. I grew up very close to several different tribes out in Arizona. And if there's anybody watching, any Native writers, hit me up. I want to support you. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear your culture. I want to hear your perspective on everything. So I want to see a huge resurgence of that. Definitely. So I'm here for you guys.
Sure, my cousins have a lot of stories, but I don't think any of them are writers, but stories.
Sorry, I'm gonna mute. You can hear my dog squeaking his little toy.
well, your cousins can still reach out to Clint. Clint can either write it or help find the people to write it or write it with them. But
They would. So
all right, cool. Anything else anybody wants to mention about the script or table reads or movies and stuff before we start to wrap this up?
Looking forward to next week.
What is next week?
Yeah. What is?
Die Hard.
Oh,
Find us on Facebook, on our Facebook group, where you can fill in an audition form. Even if you don't have a reel, fill in an audition form if you want to be a reader.
Awesome.
Find us.
And I like there's not as many characters next year.
What were you saying?
I'm guessing there's not as many characters for Die Hard as there is like this. I don't know how many characters there was in this crazy movie, but
there were
so many one-liners.
Yeah.
There were over 60 characters total.
Oh man, crazy.
About close to 70 in this one.
So upcoming next we have Die Hard, and then we have Superbad, and then we have Inception, and then another contest winner. So we got to try and do that soon. So if you guys have a script that you've written, either episodic or short or feature, we'll have a contest probably similar to last time, where you post it in the group with a log line and one image of one of your writing pages, and whatever gets the most votes, we'll read that. If it's a feature, we'll probably just read one. If it's episodic, maybe we'll read two, depending on the length. If it's short films, maybe we'll read like 4 of them or so.
Yeah.
So soon, hopefully, we'll have that post up. And so get your scripts and your log lines and your pages ready for that.
Get your drafts up to date. I guess I better start working on another draft.
Yeah, and going back to that, guys, the first table read that we did of a contest winner, Marvin Lickness, submitted his. He was very, very gracious to do that. And we posted another video after that where we did a discussion with him. It was very eye-opening, and he walked away with a lot of useful tips and tricks, and he's implemented that into his. So it's definitely an awesome way to get feedback, because when you're sitting there as a writer, trust me, I've done this a million times. You're sitting down and you're reading this perfected script, and you're like, how can I even write anywhere near to that caliber? And the thing is that it's a rough draft. It's a second draft. It's a third, fourth, fifth draft. Then it's hit the production crew, and they've hit it and rewrote it too. And by the time we do that, that's what we're reading right now. So it looks like a perfect manuscript. But when we looked back at these older scripts, or the contest winner scripts, you get to see what most writers are usually working at in the very beginning stages of their script. And so it's a really, really awesome opportunity for you guys as young artists or old artists or whatever, blossoming artists and writers to showcase your stuff and get feedback and grow and improve. So
yeah, a lot of times when you enter a contest, you have to pay extra money to get feedback. Mm-hmm. And when you do get the feedback, it's just short or this, or you're like, did they even read it? This doesn't make, like, what led them to this conclusion? You don't know, or this or that. Where here you see that right now there's still 6 of us. I forget, we had like 8 at the beginning. Usually we'll talk about the script afterwards, what we thought was working, what was not. If people have differences of opinion, then you can maybe hear why they have different opinions, they have discussion. Or you'll see like, wow, all 6 of those people thought the exact same thing, or they didn't understand this. So it's like, now I have a consensus of what is working or what's not working. And so I think it's, again, like you're saying, Clint, super useful for the writer to, 1, get any feedback, and number 2, understand the reasoning behind the feedback. And then number 3, see if there is a consensus of that feedback.
Yeah. Like when it says undeveloped characters, you're like, dude, I wrote like 30 pages for this character. What does that mean? Like, to get in there and say, hey, like, why is it undeveloped? Why? How can we expand it?
Yeah. Or if someone just says on the nose dialogue, you're like, what? What is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? Whatever it
dialogue.
Now we actually have a discussion about it, and most of the people who show up to this every week have been doing this all year. That's almost approximately 20 scripts that we've all read together. So even if we started off with none, we are now becoming a bit of an expert. But we're improving in what we see works, what we see that doesn't. So we're getting more knowledgeable, even just from doing this every week. So when you put your script in the contest and you win, and you get us reading it for one, and then giving that feedback, we've seen so many scripts now that, there's even a lot of screenwriters who have not read this many scripts. They should. So it's value. It is valuable. And yes, you still put your vision. It's your vision that's important. But if there's stuff that you're seeing, that we're seeing, that's coming up, there might be something to it.
Yeah.
Might be worth listening to.
Another thing I love about our group that's going to go over is that here, 2 people right here that have like production companies, and they do full-on production stuff, like every step of the thing. So you're getting viewpoints from people like that. You're getting viewpoints from actors that mainly focus on the actor and what the actor wants to see. You get feedback from different writers. So you're getting it from a lot of different professional viewpoints and stuff. Which
quite well-rounded, yeah. Plus, and I don't know if you're going to do this for everyone, but you did an interview with Marvin as well, which is added marketing. Exposure, yeah. So
get your scripts in for the Table Read Tuesday contest winner.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll probably edit this video, and this video will be the post for it. So, but all right. I love Truman Show. One of my favorite movies of all time. So I'm so glad that we read that.
Yeah.
Any additional final thoughts? Again?
Yeah, I'd just like to say if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your Truman, mister. So good job.
Everyone. All right. I'm going to leave on Clint's statement. Just kidding. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Night.
See ya.